service, put it all on the line when you're chasing goals. There's a magic that'll happen when you're facing them. There's a magic that'll happen when you're waking up and when you're weak and numb, but you keep breaking them. I'm talking curses that are around your generational. I'm talking chains around your neck to really weigh you down. Like I used to give a fuck of what they think about. I was swimming on the surface, but I'm deeper now. On the island all the time, it's a reaper now. Forget what everybody says, you gon' be the one.
This borderline fly like a skateboarder high, comprised with vodka, the prototype, immortalized to the mind. Delude your mind and soon to find and fool yourself. You could rule the world, it's good, decide to do the work. Exhale the negativity, start bringing in the new. Be the reason someone out to keep the dream in pursuit. Cut the bass, let it bleed, light it up, illuminal. Pursue it all, proving to be indubitable. Believe in your mind, what you say and think is what comes to life in the days and weeks. It's all possible, baby steps, making it be. Dedicate consistent setting daily routines.
Tired of being alone. Keep on believing. Well, then you're missing the mark. Keep on reaching. You've been putting it off to tomorrow. Keep on believing. It's time to feed with the show. Keep on believing. Nobody else gotta see it.
Zach Martin. Usually say only about 30 minutes or 30 seconds. 30 seconds for the intro song. Here we are. Welcome to another episode of
All right.
Live with the non-custodians.
Thanks for that. Yeah. Hello, Alicia Bullock. Nice to see you again. It's been a couple weeks.
It feels like it's been longer.
30 seconds. That might have been 30 seconds.
It was pretty much 30 seconds.
Knockastos Live.
How are you?
Episode 24.
This is a big episode 24. This is a big one.
24.
I think.
So
and I just have to say,
are you excited?
Yes. And just talking to our guest before we came on, it's going to be awesome.
Weeks off a couple times a year. Yeah, I think it's a little bit longer. It's okay. So
it's okay.
I'm wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm here.
I'm excited about this one. I think, what are you excited about?
I'm not going to lie. I feel underdressed. I do. If you're talking, you're cutting out a little bit.
Carnell is a really powerful speaker, very focused and connected guy, and good. Hey, you know what? That's what I can ask for. So
you're cutting out a little bit, just a little bit, if anything.
Our guest is, me too. Well, we're from the mountains, so Carnell's from a rural city. You're not catching none of it, huh? Well,
nope.
You do it then. Introduce our
Zach's.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Wow,
Zach's cutting out a little bit, you guys. He's having some internet problems, but
a lot. It sounds like.
Without further ado,
it sounds like a lot because I can't hear. You and I are not communicating. So, anyways, so Carnell Smith is our guest today, and he's the paternity coach.
There you are. We can hear you now. Yes, Carnell Smith. We're gonna bring him on. If I can get my buttons right before I click the button. Here he is, everybody. Carnell Smith. Probably blew his eardrums out. Didn't I?
Go for it.
Did I with that one? Yeah. He's like, that was so loud.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Zach. Welcome, sir. Carnell.
Hello, Alicia. Hey, Zach. Hey, thank you guys for inviting me.
We are so happy you're here. We are so happy you're here. And we are streaming. I'm not sure if you're aware, but we're streaming to Americans for Equal Shared Parenting, The Unmarried Father, obviously Kids Deserve Dads, YouTube, Facebook, Non-Custodial Live on YouTube. I mean, like everywhere.
Carnell, how are you?
I'm well.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for the invite, Zach. And hello to you, Alicia.
Hello, sir. I'm so happy to meet you. I'm serious.
Likewise. All the way from Atlanta, Georgia.
All the way from Atlanta, Georgia.
In case my accent gives me away.
It might, just a little bit. Zach, are you there?
Instagram.
I don't know what Zach's doing, but Carnell, if you would please.
Thanks for coming on. You should probably just talk to Alicia.
You just listen, sir. You are the paternity coach, and if you could go into explaining what that might mean to somebody who doesn't know, I'm going to give you the floor.
Okay,
You have the
Alicia.
mic. You run it.
All right. Thank you, Alicia. So as Alicia did a fine job in introducing me, I am Carnell Smith, the paternity coach. I help women, men, and families address family identity issues using DNA, law, and advocacy.
Go for it, Alicia. You got this.
And depending
Keep
on
going.
the outcome of those results when people use DNA testing, either you are the father or you are not the father. And as we know, many of the non-custodial parents, majority of them are fathers. Unfortunately, sometimes people don't tell the truth about which person helped them conceive. And I'm one of those people that happened to. So we'll talk about it today. And I'm also the author of an Amazon bestseller in 3 categories. It is called, dun, dun, dun.
Let's see it.
It is called Trapped by Law.
Trapped by law.
Stop paying child support for paternity fraud. And it is very, very popular term now, even though it is over 26 years old today. The term is called paternity fraud. And I'm hated, Alicia. I'm hated in some circles for daring to put those 2 words together.
Well, that's a bit ridiculous. That's a bit ridiculous.
Hey, we have haters. We have fans. And
Don't we
have
all?
haters.
Right? Don't we all?
Look.
We're used to that around here, especially in this community,
Well, let
in
me tell
dealing
you
with
how.
the issues we deal with.
Yes. So I've been a non-custodial father, and I've been a custodial dad. So I'm married. This year be my 33rd year. I
Congratulations.
was a lot better at choosing that second time around. And
Isn't that how it
took my
works
time.
sometimes, though?
It does. Also, it helps when you're dealing with people who are honest, truthful, and have great integrity and character, as opposed to those people who wear a mask and just use their ways to persuade and to deceive you.
Right?
So in
Why
my
would
case,
somebody want to do that?
Well, that's what we're about to crack the code on, Alicia.
Let's crack it.
There's a reason my book is called Trapped by Law. So my story begins like this. After supporting a very precocious, intelligent, brilliant little girl for 11 years, her mother sued me for more child support, even though I was paying the exact same amount to her that I was paying for my son. She says, I had a conversation with my girlfriends and you don't pay me enough child support.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what?
That's
Why
brave.
would I care about what your girlfriends think? Little did I know, Alicia, that she would sue me, and she would sue me successfully and managed to sue me for more than my house payment was.
Oh, my goodness.
And I thought, well, darn, I'm in a pretty precocious situation here. I'm a staff engineer. I'm working 60 hours a week, and I'm on call 24/7. There is zero possibility that I can add any more hours to the day. I can't work another job.
Right.
Does that sound familiar to any of the non-custodial parents out there when they're already your back's against the wall and then somebody comes along and says, you're not doing enough?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
at that point, I just reached out to my pastor's father and just asked those guys, hey guys, I need you guys to pray for me because I can't see a way out here. And I just need pretty much a miracle intervention.
Right.
So my pastor's father says, you need to take a paternity test.
And so initially that never happened.
Never
For
happened.
why? For what? Why?
Well, I had dated my former daughter's mother for about 3 years till we reached a point that where we had a conversation about what she felt about trying to pressure me into an engagement and a marriage. So I broke up with her. I was not going to have anybody giving me ultimatums, telling me what I was and wasn't going to do because of what their mother said.
Right.
My attitude was, if your mother thinks you deserve a ring, then let your mother buy you a ring. I'm not.
You just
doing
weren't there yet.
I wasn't there yet.
Yeah, that's
And
fine.
I don't take it too kindly to being threatened, and any attempt to give me an ultimatum means, okay, well, you're free to go.
Right.
Better yet, I'll leave.
There you go.
Well, after this successful lawsuit on her part, and the pastor's father talked me into taking that DNA test, I get the test results back on my wedding anniversary. And I get these results. I sit there, I look at them. Carnell Smith
You are not.
is not
sir.
the biological father of child named so-and-so. Probability of paternity, 0.0%.
Wow.
At that point, I felt like somebody had punched me in the gut.
I was just going to ask how it made you feel, because that would be pretty rough.
And after that, I got real sad, because that felt like having a child die in my arms, because I realized that relationship was going to be changed forever.
Right. And you guys had like a normal just father-daughter relationship. I mean, obviously you and the mom weren't together anymore, but you were raising her as her father
Yep.
as often as you could, probably.
Not just as I could, so much so that the teachers at her school said, we wish we had more dads like you.
Yeah.
See, like what like kids deserve dads, right? That's about making sure that kids have frequent, consistent, quality contact with both sides of their family.
Right.
Kids needs dads, kid needs moms.
Yeah.
But we also know here in this interview what parental alienation is, even
Yeah.
though they don't want to add it to that psychology manual and recognize it formally. We know what it's like to be on the receiving end as a targeted parent. Oh, yeah. You know what it's like to have the door slammed in your face when you show up with the police to pick up your kid with your court order on the court ordered day, and have the police tell you, I'm sorry, sir, if she doesn't let him go, there's nothing you can do about it.
It's a civil matter, right?
Well,
Yeah.
once I get these test results at 0%, I immediately contacted my family law attorney the same day.
Right.
Because after I went through a range of emotions, the gut punch, the sadness, the loss, the grief, and then I got angry. Because there is no way the child's mother did not know she had been involved with multiple people during her window of conception, and she knowingly and willingly held that information away from me. And I got her to admit that under oath in a deposition.
Wow.
Well, I approached the judge, we take it to court, and the judge says, it's your fault you didn't find out sooner.
Oh, really?
Right.
You want
Can't take the
to
girl's word
talk
for it.
about
You gotta do all the research, right?
Well, think about this for a second. If you are not aware of a person being dishonest in even the smallest of things in 3 years that you were in a relationship with them, how would you believe they would lie about the paternity of their child? Well, at that point, I was not going to agree, because that court order, as you know, that it has some very onerous terms that I would refer to as even a form of coercive control. It is pay or go to jail.
Right.
I'm on the hook for close to $1,800 a month, and that is more than my house payment. My wife is home on maternity leave. I just lost her $30,000 a year salary because she's not going back to work after after she has our daughter.
Right.
And lo and behold, to hear that judge tell me it's my fault that I didn't find out sooner, I was like, well, Your Honor, a reasonable person would expect a person they're in an intimate relationship with for 3 years. You would expect that person who has demonstrated integrity, honesty, as far as you know, you would expect them to continue to do so. And she told me the child was mine. So since I'm not aware of this other guy, I have since come to the conclusion it is better to verify by DNA than to take anyone's word about any claims about paternity, and that includes your own family.
Right.
And in my
Completely agree.
case,
It's just so sad.
yeah. Go ahead, Zach.
I think it's hey, I'm back. It's awesome. Nice to get to talk to you, Carnell. I appreciate you being on today, and I apologize for all the issues. But I think it's really terrible how we have social workers and people at the hospitals to have you sign these birth certificates, and they push while you're there, but they give you no information about the ramifications about what it is that you're signing and the requirements and the obligations that you are committing yourself to for at least 18 years, if not a lifetime. And that's something that needs to be addressed. It's like, I mean, you went through that in your graduation, but even if you should have a paternity test done because you never know. And
Yeah.
if they gave that information, you might have made a different choice. Probably not.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, all it would have taken is to tell me that there was a possibility that I might not be the dad. Listen,
Right.
here's what the miserable thing is about this whole situation. So I was sworn in on every deposition, in my affidavits, when I gave testimony in court. I was required to swear under penalties of perjury that I was going to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I didn't
So
get to
help you
play-
God.
Look, yeah, I didn't get to play footloose with the facts. I didn't get to decide which facts I thought were relevant when presented with a direct question under oath.
Right.
But in the family court arena, would you believe me if I tell you that in paternity fraud, depending on the state, a court can completely ignore the DNA test results from a legally admissible full chain of custody test and ignore those results and treat it like they're invisible, and then say, well, the test may say what the test says, but it's your fault you didn't figure it out 11 years before when you had no reason, you were not aware that she was in another state with her other boyfriend who you know nothing about, and then turn around and blame the guy who doesn't know. Then that guy becomes trapped by law. So what happens next? Well, obviously I am going to appeal because I don't feel like I've received justice in a bench trial. And I had this dumb idea, Zach, you being a law practitioner now. I had this crazy idea that truth, facts, and evidence was relevant. I had my own court reporter. I had all the transcripts, and we appealed to the state court of appeals, and they gave me one answer back. They said petition denied with no reason. Well, then how do you file for a motion on reconsideration when you don't even know why they rejected your appeal?
Exactly. What
But
a
that's not
joke.
wait,
I'm
but there's
sorry.
more.
Gosh,
Wait, there's more. Then I
It gets better.
appeal to the state Supreme Court. At this time, I'm also lobbying in parallel for new state law because my attorney says, Mr. Smith, I'm sorry, man, but this is one time the law is just wrong. The judge got this one wrong. Because you are the aggrieved party here. You're the injured party here. How do we make you responsible for information that she knowingly and willingly concealed from you, and as such, prevented you from being able to make an informed decision. Well, we take this to the state Supreme Court in Georgia, and they said the same thing. One line,
No
petition
reason
denied.
why.
No reason why. So now that makes it even extra challenging. How do you file for a motion for reconsideration when you don't really know why they rejected your appeal? And you have case law and case citation. I actually found a guy who had won his case in my state. I told my attorney about when I was doing some legal research, I was looking for things to support my brief. Turns out my attorney was his attorney. She had the guy's phone number. I got this guy to come testify before the state legislature about what the state of Georgia and the Child Support Enforcement Agency did to him. They took his entire paycheck as a truck driver and left him with less than $200 after they took all of his money for kids that weren't his.
My goodness.
And this man was supposed to survive driving a truck for the next couple of weeks on $200.
Wow.
Well, now we here on this interview know a truck driver can't even fill up the tank for $200.
Right.
But
No.
look, at this time I figure I have created in my mind a dual strategy. I
Right.
said, well then, okay, I heard what my attorney said, that sometimes the law is wrong, then what you have to do is change the law. I got you. I found some information from a chief appellate court judge, and the judge says, in these type of scenarios here, all you have done when judges rule like this is you haven't made this man the father of the kid. You've just made this man a victim of the law, and the law is absurd. And
Right.
the legislature should adjust this situation. So I took the charge. I took it before my state legislators, and I called for public hearings. I also did town hall meetings throughout the state. I reached victims on the internet. I appealed to major media. I started out standing in the rain by myself with one television station, and then that grew to the point of where I ended up on Dr. Phil doing over 147 countries with one of my DNA testing clients.
Wow.
And what happened in the end? The U.S. Supreme Court finally took a look at my brief where I made 2 points to challenge this on constitutional grounds. I feel that my substantive rights are being ignored. You know,
Yeah.
my right to life, pursuit of happiness,
Happiness.
liberty, all of these things. Because in my mind, if you look at my skin tone, I feel like I am a slave because I am trapped by the law, and every man and teen boy in that situation, regardless of his ethnicity, is also trapped by the law.
Absolutely.
Well, the law is supposed to be what? When applied on equal footing, equal justice, it shouldn't allow for one party to have a superior position just based on a gender or any other thing.
Right.
Well,
Right.
if I was required to tell the truth and my depositions, you found out later I had shaded the truth, I could see myself being hoisted up by my collar saying, you scofflaw, bailiff, take him out back.
Right.
Beat him until he apologizes to the court.
Right. Yeah.
But here's what happened.
Yeah,
It
there's no mercy
passes.
for a dad does that stuff.
Well, listen, I'm gonna give you the short version. All right, the short version is this. Ultimately, I get it
passes.
before the state legislature, and I get the law passed in the state of Georgia in 1 year.
Wow.
Took me 2 legislative sessions in 1 year to get it done, and it passed the House of Representatives 163-0.
Wow.
Wow.
It passed in the Senate 45-5. And what that should tell every advocate who seeks to reform family law in the best interest of kids, that really means best interest. That means based on truth, fairness, equality, real justice,
Right.
that it is not partisan. Don't go in thinking these things have to be approached from the point of view of one political party. These things have to be approached on the basis of human rights, basic dignity,
Absolutely.
right
Yep.
to life, pursuit of happiness, liberty.
Right.
All of these things should matter. Well, the Supreme Court looked at that and they said, well, now you got to send us a brief with a copy of the Georgia law.
There you go.
And I'm like, so now I got to spend money to create the booklets with the copies of the new Georgia law. And they refused to even give an opinion until I completed that step. And you know, it's time sensitive.
Right.
So
Right,
I got
yeah.
the clock racing against me. My wife and I are at Kinko's darn near midnight putting these booklets together.
Wow.
I get them in there. I wait a couple of weeks. And then this while I'm like, surely justice shall come. And it shall rain like rivers coming our way. This is when I was naive, okay? And the letter does come in the mail. You ready for it?
Sort of.
Writ of certiorari, petition is denied.
Wow.
And I've had quite a few attorneys that looked at that brief and said, what? There's no way. You proved there's over 1 million men and boys at that time that we knew about had been DNA tested
Right.
and confirmed they were not related to the kid that the mother said he was related to.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
at this
that
point,
could happen over and over again, Mike.
yes. But you know what? Most people think it's supposed to be over, though. The
You
highest
think?
court in the land is the U.S. Supreme Court, a.k.a. SCOTUS. I forgot something that I wrote in the law. By the way, I co-wrote that law. So I forgot something because my state rep says, all right, Carnell, we're going to pass this bill today. If there's anything that you want to do to this bill, this is it right now.
Right.
I rewrote that thing in like 15 minutes to help the broadest group of victims. Because at that time, I didn't think I would need it. I was thinking about everybody else, so they shouldn't have to have $25,000 to $50,000 for a retainer to fight back over something they got lied into and tricked into being into in the first place.
Right.
Well, after that happened, I remembered that there is something that I put in there that you can go back and do what we call discretionary appeal. And I went back to family court right after the judge apologized to me and admitted he was wrong. And he watched the signing of the bill.
Wow.
I won when I went back to court, even after SCOTUS turned me down. I got my name removed from the birth certificate. I got every document. I required her to reissue everything. And the only thing I could not do, the judge put a stipulation on me that still chaps my butt to this day. He said, you can only overturn this if you waive your right to sue her for damages.
Wow.
I want you guys to know that on February the 6th, 2003, I made a command decision. I am going to walk out of this court this day as a free man. I was born free. I shall remain free. But the one thing you can't do, you can't stop me once I get out of this court is you can't shut me up. And I went on a tear after that, helping other states get the laws changed. So free at last, free at last. This man right here and his family are free at last and have helped paternity victims in more than 10 other states.
Wow.
Wow. Congratulations. You said that your daughter at the time, she was 11 when you found out that you weren't the father. How long of a process from when you found out at her being 11, how much time passed before you actually with the Supreme Court or with the discretionary?
You see my hand?
5 years.
5 years.
Wow. She'd almost aged out at that point.
Long years. I
Yeah.
went bankrupt. I went bankrupt on the legal fees. By the time I reached SCOTUS, I was pro se.
Right.
Look,
What else could you be? Unless you're a
You gotta
millionaire.
be a millionaire,
But
multi-millionaire. Yeah.
yeah.
but I also want to say
I
that
mean,
that was also part of my motivation, and I believe this is why we must use your program and others to inspire more people to become advocates, as opposed to taking the pill of learned helplessness. And what do I
Right.
mean by that? If
yeah.
you believe nothing can be done and you never lift your hand to try to do something about it, it becomes true. But I was a
Hmm.
radical. I believed someone knew how to do something about it, and I went off in search of someone who had already done it. And what did I find? I found a guy whose former fiance told him that if you don't marry me, I will commit infanticide.
Oh yes, I think where did I see this at?
And he married her under duress,
Right.
under the threat to save the child's life.
Right.
Now, that's a horrible proposition. And a few years later,
Yeah.
guess what he found out by DNA testing?
Not even his.
Not even his. So I based, and by the way, that is Dennis Karen, an executive recruiter who managed to get the laws changed in Ohio in 2000. And I was doing a story with the CBS Early Show, and he and I and several others ended up in the same story. So I tracked him down. And I said, tell me more about this law you got passed. Tell me about your state rep. And I wanted him to come, but he couldn't come to testify before our state legislature. But he gave me the bill. And I studied that bill. I dissected that bill. I broke it down into modules. And then over Christmas break, I went to my state representative's house, who just so happened to live in my subdivision. And I told him about,
Yeah, like that.
look, I told him about what could happen to him and his son, how any woman or girl could sue them for child support and paternity with no proof that he was even related to the child. And then I showed him what currently would happen in the state of Georgia, how judges can completely ignore a legally admissible DNA test. And I asked this radical question. If DNA can free someone who had been wrongly convicted of a criminal charge, falsely accused of you know what that means, or a
Hmm.
crime of a sexual nature,
Right.
grape,
Right.
murder. Well, what that
Right.
means is you end up with incontrovertible evidence to prove not only did the accused not commit the crime, but you can also, with the genetics, identify who did do it.
Right.
So here's a radical question.
And they get
What
damages too most of the time after that, right?
in the
The
criminal
wrongfully,
cases when you've
yeah,
been
wrongfully
falsely
convicted most of the time. Yeah.
when you've been falsely convicted, yes. Here's what we asked all of the legislators. So, in the expedience of judicial economy, so do you want to say because you've already spent good money on prosecuting this case, you guys are like, well, hey, he should have figured it out sooner. He should have had a better attorney. Well, we don't blame the
Right.
victim in those cases.
Right.
He or she should have had a right to a fair and just trial and all of the relevant facts and evidence. It shouldn't be suppressed. In fact, it should be used, and justice would be, in my opinion, would be thwarted when you got proof somebody else committed the crime. Do you keep the person who's been falsely prosecuted and say, well, it's your fault, you didn't have a good defense? No. It is patently unfair. It is unjust. And I feel that should even be called criminal. All right? But I can't get away with that.
Right.
But in terms of, do we leave that person behind bars and say, well, look, buddy, sucks to be you. And the fact that you couldn't afford anyone, with a Harvard background, and you only got the what do you call it? The court appointed attorney,
Oh,
not
a
the, what's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
term I'm looking
Yeah.
for?
A
talking about.
public
Gosh,
defender.
yeah.
A public
was-
defender.
Pretender, yeah.
That wasn't what I was looking for. The public pretender. There you go.
Oh, pretender. There you go. Thank you for fixing it for me.
Right. Because listen, that person has a high caseload. If they've got 125 cases, they don't have time to study your case. And a lot of time they'll try to get even the innocent person to take the plea deal because it's less time than trying to investigate your case. Now, you
Get
can't
it off my
convince
desk.
me it doesn't happen because I've met some of those guys who were the wrongly convicted, and thanks to Barry Scheck and the Innocence Project, they end up winning and getting out. But
Right.
it cost them in some cases 10, 20, 30 years.
Right.
I'm drawing a parallel here. If
Yeah.
evidence is relevant for people who have been wrongly accused of a crime, then evidence has to be relevant and the truth has to be relevant in family court. One
We all
person
wish that.
caused the pregnancy, one person didn't. Well, what do we say when I by the way, end up in the DNA testing business with the lab that did my test?
Oh,
I told
nice.
them they don't do enough tests and I want to help them do more. Because DNA testing should be so commonplace, we don't take anybody's word about who's the child's mother, who's the
Yeah.
child's father. Let the court get independently verifiable third party who has scientific evidence that can be challenged, as opposed to just taking someone's word. But currently today, let me tell you what happens in family court.
Paternity test. Like,
In family court now, across many of the states in the U.S. and U.S. territories, all the mother has to say is you did it. And now it is a presumption of guilt, and it is on you to prove, look,
Otherwise.
you have to come in there and essentially,
does that? Go ahead.
I was saying, you are essentially on the bottom end of the curve. You are presumed guilty. And if you don't know this, let me say this. This is a very dangerous thing. If you expect everybody has the same code of honor and integrity like you do, and you believe that if everyone who makes truthful, honest, verbal representations stand by their word, because my father and my grandfather said, your word is your bond. We didn't need a contract. Your word was your bond. But these days, I'm going to say I want a contract and I want some penalty clauses in it. You with me? But can we trust the person and also verify what they claim? The DNA test is not being made to make women look bad. The DNA test is saying that during that window of conception is a 60-day window. So during the window of conception, so the date of conception, 30 days before, 30 days after, because what I have found from interviewing several obstetrician gynecologists is some mothers fudge on the dates to make it line up with the guy who she wants it to be.
I was just going to say, women, I guess women that know anything about being a woman, the window is so much smaller than that. The window is so much smaller than that.
Yes.
It's what it may be.
Says last
4 or
date
5
of
days.
menstruation plus or minus
4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm serious. It's just the truth. It's like the science about it. There's really only that window.
And look, and that's for the woman who has a regular cycle.
That's true. Okay.
There's
I mean,
some.
we'll
Listen,
give it
there's
that.
some.
But
There's some.
I
If
I
she's
just can't
suddenly-
imagine being in that predicament. I'm
Well,
sorry.
Think about this, Ashley. Think about the woman who is kind of haphazard on taking her birth control pills.
yeah,
Sometimes she takes them, sometimes she doesn't.
yeah.
In my case, I felt like, well, maybe the Trojan manufacturer had let me down.
Yeah,
But then there was a backup plan that was supposed to be in place. So I approached the child's mother. I said, well, why didn't you tell me you stopped taking your pills? She said, that was none of your business. What? What some guys
Sneaky
are not
business.
aware of, a term called baby trapping.
there you go. I was gonna say it, but you go ahead.
Right. Yeah,
But
it
I'm
happens
not,
all the
listen,
time, right?
I'm not the innovator of the term. One of my oldest sisters told me about this. When she met my former daughter at 2 years old, she said, "That's not your baby." What? I was like, but her
She
mom
knew.
says it. Her mom says it is.
She.
I defended my ex against my own sister. And after the DNA test came out, I went and tracked my sister down and I apologized to her and I dedicated my book to her.
Wow.
And when I interviewed her and I asked her, I said, well, "How did you know?" She says, "Listen, she had girlfriends who had done those very things that are, when it comes to not letting the guy get away who she wants to keep in her life, or the guy who thought he was going to get away, there's oftentimes an attempt to get him to have one more romp in the hay." And suddenly, look, and suddenly you are the father. We're going to have a baby. I'm going to be honest with you guys. That is not something any man on the planet wants to hear from an ex-wife, an ex-girlfriend, an ex-one-nighter. You don't
Right.
want to hear that from any of those in that group.
Right.
But unfortunately, the way the law works today, even still, is once you are sued for established child support and set paternity, the presumption of guilt is on the name on that docket. And if for some reason you don't show up, you're in trouble.
Yep. It's only going to get worse for you.
Yeah. Well, I've since learned there's a lot more about paternity fraud, and I have managed to boil it down to 4. Let me get my fingers in focus. 4 primary ways that men and boys find themselves tricked, trapped, deceived, fugabooed, swindled, snookered, taken, all by playing footloose with the truth.
Let's hear it.
Lisa,
I'm listening.
you
I'm ready.
for it?
I am.
Number one, signing a confession without proof.
And you're talking about the birth certificate.
The signing the birth certificate.
Okay.
Now think about it. Once it is presented in this fashion, what clear thinking, rational minded person that if I told you, if you sign this document without proof, you are waiving your right to a DNA test in the future, and you are also waiving your right to challenge paternity later. So if you take her word for it, it can and will be used against you in a court that is not a court of law. Family court is not a court of law.
It is
Family
a court of
a court of equity.
equity. Okay.
And guess who gets to define equity in that court? The judge. And unless the judge is limited by statute, which is why I was gung-ho and pushing for statute, meaning statutory law limiting judicial discretion. Because once we know what the truth is, I don't want a judge to have the ability to decide to ignore it.
Right.
Right.
Shouldn't have that power.
Yeah.
Right.
Not relevant. But number 2,
Okay, number 2.
the marital presumption of paternity.
Oh, yeah. See. Ooh, man. You want to make some women mad.
Here we go.
Go for it.
Number 2, the marital presumption. According to the Lord Mansfield Doctrine, this is the Old English common law, that any children your wife has while she is married to you are automatically yours, including when you are deployed in Afghanistan and she is in Florida on the beach.
Right.
Those babies that she has while either legally separated from you or physically separated from you, doesn't matter.
Yep.
I've met plenty of men, married men, who thought that when he caught his wife cheating on him, he just said, "I'm done with this." He packed up his stuff, loaded up his truck, and took off.
Now
He
he's
said,
on the
"I'm
hook.
done."
Yeah.
But guess what? He made a critical error. What now? Hear this. Once you've decided that you're out of that relationship, you got to take active, constructive steps to get her out of your name legally with a divorce. You got to make sure that it gets, and that date, you got to make sure that from that point forward, you have no more intimate contact with her on for any reason whatsoever. Because up to 365 days after that, if she shows up pregnant, you are still presumed to be the father.
Right.
Even when she and her boyfriend, who she's living with, know that you can't be the dad, but as long as she's still legally married to you in most U.S. states and most U.S. territories, they're required to put your name down on the document.
That's right.
Number 3, incorrect default judgment. You're like, what? Courts
What is
don't
that?
do
Yeah.
that. Courts don't issue incorrect default judgments. Oh, yes, they do. The state of California was so great at it that they are documented as managing to get almost 81% of their paternities during about a 10-year period. 81% of their paternities were established using incorrect default judgment. So what does this mean?
Please
If
tell me.
for any reason when you have been sued, and now hear this for parents of teenage sons, this applies to you too.
Don't get me started.
Because when your minor son is on the hook for child support, has no job, guess who is a viable source of revenue? Excuse me, I shouldn't say revenue. A source to help Junior out.
You should
You.
say revenue. It's the parents.
And is it a coincidence that the child support agency is under the Department of Revenue in many of the states? Title 4D.
Title 4D.
But think about this now. Incorrect default judgment. So here I am. I'm in boot camp. Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guards, whatever it is. I don't show up at that court hearing. You know, the one where the child's mother put down my address for service of process. She put her address down saying that I lived with her while I was actually in boot camp 4 states away. Is there any possibility that I will make it to that hearing on that day? No, you won't. And you know what?
Oh.
What's going to happen
Oh, default.
next? You see this thing that I'm holding up right here? This is a automatic, you will pay 18 to 21 years of child support and potentially have to pay toward college fees. This in the hands of a hearing officer or a family court judge will make you the father because you did not make it to that hearing, or you mistakenly had this dumb idea like I did. I never touched her. They got the wrong guy. There's no way it's mine. And you don't show up to put on an assertive defense on your behalf with a written, let me say that again, a written demand for a legal DNA test, not a verbal. People make a mistake here. They call the child support office and they verbally request a paternity test. And then suddenly on the day of hearing here, listen to this, Zach, on the date of hearing, that agent that they talk to gets transferred to another county and can't be found to testify for you at court.
I don't remember that conversation. I
Didn't happen
with that person.
and it goes like this in front of the judge.
You talk to your lawyer, you talk to anybody, you should always be sending out confirmation. If you have a discussion with them, you should send them an email laying out exactly what was said. So that way, if they don't refute it in an email back to you, then what you said to them is
it's a
what
record.
Supposed to take. Yes. So
yes.
If you don't record it and do it on emails, if you do it in on a phone, send them an email afterwards and cover your base, because they will forget that they talked to you about that conveniently. Or not remember. Yeah.
Conveniently.
It happens.
Yeah, the
Always.
child support agent who assured you, well, yes, Mr. Johnson, if you just show up here, buddy, we will be glad to help you. No, we won't. We won't be glad to help you because it's a lot easier for us to take your money if you don't show up.
All right.
And we stick one of these in the hands of your honor, sir. We'll get your money. Listen, don't show up. Don't come. Just tell us that, yes, she was actually with your cousin. Sure, buddy, we hear this story all the time. Yes, right. And your name's on that docket, though.
Yep.
And when you are not there making a defense in your own behalf, voila, you shall be appointed the dad with this authorized written instrument here in the hand of a hearing officer or a judge, family court judge. This thing can cost you $1 million. What do I mean by that? For high income individuals, you're paying child support in excess of $15,000 a month at 10% interest over 18 years, and you find out it's not even your child.
Oh, man.
You are not going to get a automatic reimbursement. If you are able to, you will have to sue civilly for damages. And in most cases, they'll say things like, but your honor, it's against public policy to sue a mother. Well, look, she had her fingers crossed behind her back. She made an honest mistake, your honor. You notice how I put those together? Honest mistake.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
Number four.
There we go.
Mistaken identity. Dun, dun, dun.
Wait. Like, I thought it was this guy, but it wasn't. Like, he's not. Wait. Mistaken identity.
I came
What do you
across a
mean?
kid. I came across a kid who was about, maybe 12, got sued for child support.
He was 12?
He got sued for child support for a 17-year-old.
Same name, huh?
The kid had the same name as the father of that
Oh,
kid.
okay.
So-
I'm like, wait, whoa.
So sometimes there are guys who will flee the state trying to dodge a child support obligation. Mm-hmm. Might not be the dad or is the dad, and he'll change jobs frequently. He'll do all manner of things. And until they catch up with him and start to, get an income deduction order served on that new job, then he'll just quit and take off. And he'll jump states even. Well, the child support agency uses a data match program, and they look for people with this name.
Right.
And oftentimes they don't have a photo of the real person that's on the docket. They don't have a DNA profile on that person that's on the docket. They have a name, they have a date of birth, and maybe a general description.
Right.
Listen, you can have a warrant out for your arrest on a child support abandonment warrant. Mm-hmm. And your only crime is you have the same name as the guy whose name is on the warrant. And the warrant for one of my clients, the warrant says it is a guy who is 6 foot, 150 pounds. My client was like 5'6", about 180. The officer couldn't tell the difference between looking at my client and the description on the warrant. So my guy went to jail for like 4 days.
Oh, my goodness.
Listen to what happened to him in the jail.
Oh.
Zach, here's what happened to him in the jail. The more he complained and being adamant that they had the wrong guy, they started to modify the paperwork at the jail to match him. Fortunately for him, the paternity coach reached out for help from my former attorney, and we did a press release, and we showed up at the courtroom with counsel for him.
Wow.
At this time, I'm in the DNA test business, and I show up with my mobile collection van. And we asked the court to issue a bench warrant to bring the mother and the child to court because we're going to be able to prove our guy is not the guy.
Uh-huh.
Well, once they brought the mother in the courtroom, she said, that's not him. But our guy.
I'm not meaning to laugh. This is very serious, but what?
Yes.
Good grief.
Listen,
I
that you would think that
It's
can't
so
happen.
crazy that, right? Yeah.
you would
I mean, it
think.
just seems so unbelievable, right? Like there's no way that all these people could drop such a different person. A 12-year-old is getting put in this kind of position, and I mean, 4 years in jail, 4 days in jail for a 12-year-old and stuff. I mean, that's pretty
Well,
unbelievable. And then they
the
have
12-year-old. I'm sorry.
the
I
cops.
apologize. I
The
didn't put them up.
12-year-old was a different case.
I didn't put the brakes
Okay.
on there. I switched stories in there. That was two examples. That was two
Yeah.
examples of
Hey.
mistaken identity. On the 12-year
Right.
old, the 12-year-old was finally able to get off after I told his mom to call the local television station and use their troubleshooter line and ask the editor to ask them to meet her there for a live story and told them to name names, name the child support agents, name the judge and everybody on camera. Do you know that
Yeah.
with that much publicity, they managed to resolve that case in under 30 minutes?
Man, so quick. Jeez.
But the mother, listen, this kid's mom says, "You guys are idiots." For
Yeah.
my son to be the father of a 17-year-old, this would be a major miracle. It should be stated in Guinness.
Right. Right.
My kid wasn't even on the planet.
Y'all couldn't figure that out.
And
Couldn't
they
figure
couldn't
that out.
look, they couldn't figure it out till they was going to receive a bunch of negative publicity. See, this radical guy here, the paternity coach, when the opportunity comes like this, you know, and I know that's not the only one. So
Yeah.
if you can get a compelling story in front of media to help, because this is something you should bring before your legislature, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a public interest story, because if it happened to one, it happened to many, because a lot of people, if they're certainly if they're below the ultra high income, they don't necessarily have an attorney on tap, you know, as in
Right.
on retainer that they can just pick up the phone and just call,
Yeah.
right? And if you don't have that luxury, oftentimes you get abused because you don't know what your rights are. You don't speak the law. You don't know how to aggressively or assertively defend yourself. And as a result, you are prone to be duped and taken advantage of. And
Right.
just like the police can lie to you, the child support enforcement agent can lie to you. And
Yeah.
by the way,
They're
they
not
will
there to
not be
support you.
available. Look, they will not be available when you ask for anything to try to help your case.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Look,
They want to collect your money. They want to know where you live at and where you're working and how soon
when
you're
do
going
you
to
get
pay.
paid?
That's
Yeah. That's it.
That's what they want to know. They don't. They care nothing about your case. Nothing about you getting to see your kids. Nothing about
Oh no,
you
they'll tell
besides
you.
you paying. Yeah.
Listen, visitation and child support are two different things, buddy. What are you doing, man? Why are you trying to lump these things together? Look, we run a respectable business here at the Child Support Enforcement Office in your state. Our job here is to get money from one party to the kids.
Right.
Now, the fact that you hadn't seen them in the last 908 days, that's not our problem. You're going to have to get you an attorney, and you're going to have to take that up with the judge. Our job is to make sure that funds get from over here. Well, hold on. Wait. Let me get our cut now. Let's see. Okay, $2 for you, $1 for us, $5 for you, $2 for us. All right, we got
Right.
our cut. Now we're going to give her the rest.
Right.
Ooh, doesn't that
Well,
sound
one thing I
little-
was thinking, why I don't hear this, like like Donald Trump and people that are running for office, right? Like, if we told the senior citizens and the people that are handicapped and that they could get double their money on Social Security if we just got rid of Title 4D, that is basically siphoning their money off to give to these state
Yes.
agencies. Why is
Yes.
why is nobody running on a platform like that where we are actually incentivizing helping senior citizens and those who need the services like workers' comp issues and stuff, and then removing this from the Title 4D? Like,
I can tell you
Because they're
what.
getting their
taking money
cut
from
too.
retired people.
I was going to say.
That's why they can't run on it.
Spot on. But
Alicia.
there's two sides to that. Not only do you have a whole lot of state agencies and offices also getting a cut, let's not rule out Section 458 bonus and incentives under Title 4D, where it's over $500 million of incentive money that says based on the number of paternities they get established, they start to win based on metrics on how well they manage to get people signed up year over year. Notice
Right.
it doesn't say how many fathers were identified. It's
No.
how many paternities they get established. So
Right.
this is why there is a thing called the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity. Well, a person who you can emotionally manipulate, let me roll in your teenage son, your older man, a guy who is not familiar with some of the ways and the, shall we say, some chicanery, slickery trickery. If you can get him to hold the baby, by the way, this is actual technique. If you get him to hold the baby and then tell him, "Ooh, look, baby's got your eyes. Ooh, got your nose. Look, got the smile, got dimples and stuff like you. Don't you want your baby to have a father? Sign here."
Yep.
Now, emotionally, this person is extremely vulnerable, is not thinking long term, Zach. You're a legal eagle. How well is this person able to represent their interests long term without the benefit of counsel? And by the way, the big print giveth and the small print taketh away. There's often a waiver now in these modern voluntary acknowledgement documents that waives your right to challenge paternity later. You sign now, the mother can tell you herself to your face, "I tricked you, fool. By the way, I tricked you fair and square and you didn't figure it out."
Right.
That would be horrendous.
Yeah.
But guess what? It is at that time when you use people's emotions while they are vulnerable. To me, that's no different than getting the person drunk, trying to get them into a contract to sell his house on terms that are more favorable to you, that are negative to them, and cause them
Right.
to lose money.
Yep.
If that were discovered, you could actually undo that contract and you could go back and sue all the relevant parties. Especially if you had proof, right?
Right.
But try
yeah.
imagining this. The voluntary acknowledgement program is one of the only places a minor child can sign a legal obligation and then be held to it.
Wow.
Let me say that slowly. Your teenage sons who believes he's doing the right thing because you told him to step up to the plate, to take responsibility, but you didn't tell him that sometimes smiling faces tell lies. You didn't tell him that unless he has a private investigator and he has had the benefit of 24-hour surveillance, he doesn't know who else she's involved with.
Right.
She could have been involved with, well, we actually had the benefit of seeing a PI story where they followed a wife after she came home and went to sleep. She got up later and visited 4 guys before she got back home. And by the way, based on
That's
them
busy.
sharing that news with the husband, the team highly recommended the husband to get a paternity test for all of the kids. None of the kids were his. This is why I say no one, I repeat, no one should sign a paternity acknowledgement until he has first seen test results in his hand of at least 99.99%. And that's assuming you don't have a close relative or an identical twin or one of your triplets who was also involved with the mother during the window of conception. And by the way, I have actually cracked a case involving identical twins
Wow.
using a formula that's in my book called the ABCs of
Wow.
paternity. A lot happened all because one woman lied to me and cost me over $300,000 and wouldn't let me go.
That's how much?
5 years of litigation. It's
Wow.
not free.
Well, yeah. People. Ooh, the number. The number.
But
Goodness.
look, there's a reason I continue to do this to this day. It is not because I'm trying to just push books. The book is really a goal to inspire and motivate people to become advocates and activists for their own situations, whatever they are.
Yeah.
If I, as one person, can start a fire toward changing and legislative reform, I'm not the only person that can do it. Think about that.
Right.
And I think for a lot is that you have to help people to believe if somebody else could do it with no prior legal training, it's not required to become a citizen advocate. In fact, you don't even have to be a parent. The fact that you see that is wrong, that is unjust and unfair, and that there are citizens of your state being manipulated and taken advantage of, you can get involved. See, I am a firm and vocal supporter of equal shared parenting. Yes, like Robert Garza. Yes, and many others like him. Uh, Look, Mark Ludwig and many, many others like them. Had the chance to meet those guys. I know what it was like when I had my court order that said I had joint physical custody, and I couldn't get the judge who signed the order to enforce my parenting time and actually hold the mother accountable for custodial interference, even though
Right.
the state statute has custodial interference defined by law. And I had proof.
Yeah.
The judge said to me, "What do you want me to do? Put her in jail?" Here's my answer.
Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, please.
Your Honor, she has to believe that your order has weight and that her participation and her willingness to follow the order, it can't be optional. I know what you guys will do to me if I'm derelict in making my payments. In fact, I have received a list of those things:
Yeah.
loss of driver's license, seizure of tax refunds, seizure of cash management accounts, loss of business license, loss of driver's license.
That's
But I need my license to go to work. Hey, buddy, if you don't have our money here by Friday, you won't be driving to work.
Now you'd be in jail.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Don't worry about going to work.
Look, 3 meals and a cot. And here's a crazy question. If the person didn't have the money to be able to make the payment, putting them in jail is not going to help them suddenly come up with the money.
Right.
If anything, you just made him unemployable.
Right.
At the time
Well,
that I had security clearance, I worked in a high trust industry. What happens to me if you convict me of a third-degree felony of child abandonment? For a kid that's not mine, for a pregnancy I didn't commit, I have 2 DNA tests to prove I didn't do it. That would make me unemployable in my
Right.
industry.
Yeah.
And what would happen to my wife and my newborn at that time? What would happen to them and their way of life? You know, the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, all of those quote, quote, constitutionally protected things both at my state constitutional level and the U.S. constitutional level. And by the way, I even did a DNA test with my wife. Because after you have had this miserable experience and a 5-year court battle, you never, ever want to go through that again.
Right. Like, I love you, but we're just gonna
But
make
guess
sure.
what? My wife took that test
Right.
with my senior pastor and his wife as witnesses. She said,
Wow.
I have nothing to hide.
Right. I think that's just the way it should be. And just as a woman, I don't understand anybody wanting to put their child or a man in that position, that there's ever a question. I mean, especially after the fact, because, and with everything we have going on in the world right today, we got Ancestry DNA, there's all these other DNA testing sites, and the wreck it creates, whether it's a situation like yours or way further down the road. I mean, there's no escaping it at this point. Like, you might as well just do it. You are not going to hide.
Carnell,
You know what I
did
mean?
I tell you this story when I talked to you? Did I tell you this about the girl that I dated, that her daughter, and to the guy who she thought or said it was the dad, and that we were dating, and I found out that I was like 17, and I found out like a week before we broke up, and she told me this stuff like in bed one night, like that she lied, and that the daughter wasn't the he said is the dad who's been paying child support this whole entire time, and like 2 days later, 3 days later, he comes over to the house, and they had this whole discussion about it at the doorway. I've been laying on the couch, and she had just told me this like a couple of days before, and I'm laying on the couch like listening to them have this discussion about him knowing it's not his daughter, and she's like, yes, she is, and just like lying to his face after confessing to me like 2 nights before that. I mean, we didn't last more than like a couple more days after that. I was like just laying on the couch going, I don't even know what's going on right now. Like, this is the most unbelievable story that I'm hearing, and to hear her, and then to talk about it and like defend her choice to like lie to her daughter and lie to this guy, and knowing that the other guy, wasn't necessarily the greatest guy or as good of an earner as this guy was and stuff. The other guy already had 2 kids, and so she lied and told this guy that he was the dad to get his money, and let him believe that and process the childhood. And he even knew that it wasn't, and she still like kept lying to his face about the whole entire thing. It was an unbelievable experience to lay there. This is before I had my son, but an unbelievable experience to lay there and hear that experience and that story being told right there for my face. It was surreal.
Yes.
Surreal.
But that proves it's not rare.
It's not rare.
Proof.
No.
It's
Look, as of right now, I have met 5 pastors who are victims of paternity fraud, and 1 or 2 of them are on my YouTube channel. I got one of those pastors to come and speak before a state legislature where I was lobbying to not only in his state of Michigan, but I got him to come and talk about his situation before New Jersey. This pastor, senior pastor, in fact, he's a bishop. This means this guy has leadership responsibility of multitudes of churches. He said the only way he knew something was not quite right, he said a guy from one of his churches calls him up and say, Bishop, I need you to get your name off my son's birth certificate. I told your wife to tell you that boy is mine. WTB? What the blazes?
what the I like that.
But look what happens next. Right? What happens next? So now, this has got the bishop thinking, wait a minute, but there's 3 kids. Which one is he talking about?
Oh my goodness.
So based on that phone call, because the biological father wanted the kids to be in his name, and he wanted his name to be on the birth certificate. And the fact that the bishop's wife was married to him, he didn't care about that part. He wanted his name on his son's birth certificate. Due to the marital presumption of paternity, what did I say?
Right.
Any children your wife has, including when she's out there in the streets, acting like a single woman. She's out doing girls' night. She's out at the club. She's doing everything. She's single and ready to mingle when you're not in sight. See this ring? She's like, poof, it's out of sight. I don't see you. I'm not married. Based on that, the bishop tests all 3 of the kids. 2 of the kids are not his, and those 2 have different daddies, and only 1 of those kids is his.
Oh my
And
Lord.
the state court of family court in Michigan, in its infinite wisdom, threatened the bishop and told him if he didn't pay $1,200 a month in child support for all 3 of them, he was going to jail.
Wow.
Right.
And he couldn't understand, but why am I being punished? I didn't do anything wrong here. I kept my vows. I honored my vows. She's the person who broke the marital contract. She's the one who's unfaithful. She's committed adultery on multiple times. Listen, what a lot of people think is based on, when they see a couple of the kids and not theirs, they think that's the only time that person's been unfaithful. No. Those are the only times there was proof.
Yeah.
Hello. unless, by the way, PIs the private detective agencies right now in today's current culture and dynamics is a very good industry to be a part of, along with a practicing family law attorney who is highly experienced in prenuptial agreements and postnuptial agreements and understand the significance of DNA testing for all claims of paternity. Wow. See, what happens?
It's a must.
It's a must. Now, you say, but here's what people try to do to prevent the guy in this situation. They attempt to shame the guy for wanting a paternity test.
Yep, that's true.
You don't trust me.
I can't believe
You
don't
don't love me. If you were a decent and honorable man, you would just take my word, sign here. Don't do it, fellas. Do not allow shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right to persuade you, because if you waive your right to find out what the facts are, listen to this. In many states, if you're married, you have between the ages of 2 to age 5, depending on what state it is, due to the Uniform Parentage Act, a group of unelected group that came up with these terms to allow for, if you don't challenge paternity between ages 2 and 5, you are forever banned.
Right.
So all the mother has to do is, if you're in a state that has a 2-year time limit, like California, she can tell you on the first day after the kid turns 2-year-olds, little Junior is not yours, chump. And since California is a no-fault divorce state,
birthday, right?
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, wait.
The second birthday on their Christmas dinner, birthday dinner, right?
Right,
So
but it gets worse. Listen, it gets worse. No-fault divorce with paternity fraud equals better payment than a lottery ticket. Mother gets to move you out. You get hit with her attorney's fees. If you were dumb enough to have a joint credit card with her and she ran those up, most times you get stuck with the bill.
Yeah.
And you have to continue payments toward the house, even if she can't financially afford it, because that's the manner and style they are accustomed to. And if she has the kids, if this is a state that doesn't have statutes that are based on the truth and allow you to do what we call a paternity disestablishment, aka paternity fraud, you will be stuck because you didn't challenge it based on a time limit. It is in the statutes, but guess what? The general public doesn't know this. And for the unwed, for the single guy, for the teenage one, in most states, if you sign that document, that voluntary acknowledgement, you sign that birth certificate, starting on the 61st day, your only way to challenge that is with a court order. And you can only challenge it on the grounds of fraud, duress, or material mistake of fact. And by the way, they say that because she lied to you about it is not fraud.
What's the law in Wyoming, Zach?
What is Wyoming's law?
I don't know what the law
Yeah.
is.
I could find out.
I'm sure it's the same.
We could find out.
I'm just curious. I'm going to look at every single state now.
But here's the rub, though. Why not let's just do DNA testing at birth and at the first court hearing where somebody tries to get money?
Right.
Because if you're bold enough and you're big enough to come in and swear, well, this is the guy that fertilized my egg, Your Honor, sir. Well, let's get her to swear under oath. Is he the only possible biological father? Question 1. Question 2. Is this the only person you had intimate sexual relations within the 60-day window of this particular child's conception date? There's no wiggle room on this. This is a yes or a no. And then we do a legally admissible full chain of custody DNA test.
Yeah.
The facts are going to fall out after that test. And then based on those results, if we got her admitting under oath to specific questions under oath, we now have something that can be actionable for fraud. And by the way, look up Parsons and Black Law Dictionary, the definition for legal fraud: the knowing and willful concealment of a material fact. Is that accidental, Zach? The
No.
knowing and willful concealment of a material fact. What is the material fact here? Miss Cupcake, did you know that you were having intimate relationships with someone other than your husband? Well, yes. When did you tell him? Never. Well, he shouldn't have got that DNA test and he would have never known about it. I would have carried that to my grave. So it's his fault for getting the test. And Your Honor, you should throw the book at him.
Judge is like, you're right.
You guys hear that? Did you hear that pretzel logic? Did you hear that logic?
Hey,
It's ridiculous.
If you wouldn't have been looking, you wouldn't have found nothing, and so that's your fault.
Exactly. If you wouldn't have been so dadgum nosy and would have just took my word for it, everything would have been fine. We wouldn't be going through all this stuff. Look, you starting to make my nerves bad. Somebody pour me a drink. Look, I know I'm being somewhat comical and radical here, but this situation is so
It's
sad.
true. It's just the truth.
It is. It is. I'm deeply rooted in truth here based on facts. Listen, independently verifiable facts. Because if that kid is mine, that kid is going to match my genetic profile. And if I have a male child, every male child down a lineage starting from the great-great-grandfather at the top of the family tree, they will all have the same Y chromosome, just as by reverse. If every daughter who comes down the same lineage will have the same X chromosome as her great-great-great-grandmother at the top of the family tree, and it will pass down from mother to daughter all the way down to the current generation.
Right.
The thing about the great thing about DNA testing to me made it so much more accurate than the ABO blood group type testing is the blood grouping back in the 90s, 80s area could kind of narrow the field of who it could be. It couldn't be precise. Now you could exclude people, meaning you could in some cases luck out and get the guy, oh no, due to this combination, wait a minute, he's got O positive, she's got B.
Yeah.
Oh no, that ain't even scientifically, medically possible.
Right.
What? That's his, no, girl, stop lying. That can't be his kid. And then she goes, well, there were 3 more people we could test.
We're just back to the Maury days, you know? Remember Maury?
2 if I got to, I guess.
You are not the father.
I really don't want to.
But that part only comes out after
Too late.
something happened to cause that guy to get a test.
Yeah.
And what I'm hoping for shows like Kids Need Parents, Deserve Parents, Kids Deserve Dads, the first question should be, is he your dad? Now, I am not against step parents here. So I want to make sure this is clear, because that's a person who knowingly and willingly steps into the role, knowing they are not related to the child, and you have their explicit consent. Listen to that. Let me say that again. You have their explicit consent to take care of a child that he knows he's not related to, and he may even be willing to adopt them.
Right.
Admirable, but that's a personal choice. I say we should not enforce any orders that have involved sleight of hand, concealment of material facts, blatant outright lies. Well, we escalated. Well, how did you pick the guy as the father? Well, he was my husband at the time, and he made more money than all of my boyfriends, so he has to be the daddy.
Oh my God.
That sucks. That's not a logical, reasonable. If we had jury instructions, that what rational, clear thinking person would say, wait a minute, what? You pick the daddy based on what their income is and their financial net worth statement? She's like, well, yeah, that's what sounds like perfectly good thing to me. If he doesn't figure it out before the time limit, I got him.
Sucks.
Now,
It's terrible.
I told Alicia at the start of the program, I'm hated on some fronts by the way I present this, but guess what? Sometimes you have to cause people to think. You ask a rhetorical question because you already know the answer, right? But the reason for doing so is to prompt the audience to think. Wait a minute. There's no way she didn't know that she was involved with multiple people. Strike one. She knowingly and willingly withheld that from the person who she told, I'm pregnant and you're the father. That's not accidental, Zach. Well, it was an honest
it's not
mistake.
accidental.
Look, it was an honest mistake. Is that an oxymoron?
Right.
A little bit.
I forgot that I had sex with that.
When it comes to that, I'm
Having
sorry.
sex
It
with-
absolutely is.
You know, like it escaped my mind. I was, you know, like
I forgot
remember
about
that
that one.
happening, so-
Darn.
Oh, here it is. Here's how you
honestly,
get out of
just,
it. You cross your fingers and say, oops, my bad.
It's the way you do things, right? Like, hey, you just ask for forgiveness. You know, you don't ask for permission. Just if I get caught, forgiveness on the backside. That's all I'm going for. And in family court,
It's terrible.
you're going to get forgiven
Well-
because the judges forgive every time. Like they have no love for dads. They just want that money, and that's it.
But in this case, it is only the guy whose name is on that court order, whether it be a teen boy
Right.
or an adult man. He is blamed for not challenging this before he even knew there was a reason to challenge it. Listen, if you told that guy she was involved with 23 other people during that window of conception, and then you tell him, if you sign this document now, number one, you're a fool. Number two, the amount of suffering that you will go through here, she may later come to you in your face and tell you, I played you like a fiddle. We may as well stamp you as an instrument because you're good just to be played with.
Oh, damn.
How would you feel
Maestro.
to have somebody get in your face and tell you that? And by the way, I've had guys tell me the mother gets in their face and says, and you better have my money. She didn't say the kid's money. She said, you better have my money or I will swear out a warrant on your butt. And if you get behind, let my check
Don't get
be
behind.
short. If my check's short, your butt will be like grass and I'm the lawnmower. That's a bit hard to take, people. Listen to me.
It's hard to say she's a lawnmower, right? Like, I mean, she has all the tools, right? She's
Yes.
a lawyer who is paid by the state to go out there
Yes.
and enforce this for her.
Yep.
There's a judge out there, you know, and they're looking for her. They want their money, and she has an army out there on her side to enforce these things and to punish you. Very, very damaging to be punished by them in this situation and stuff. So
think about this.
It's a wild
This
place.
is pay or go to jail. And then even after you can prove you had nothing to do with creating that child, and even if you want to continue to have a relationship with a kid, if you that, like in my case, we wanted to continue to have a relationship with the child, but just was not willing to give over 40% of my net income to her mother.
Right.
There's no way you could
Right.
get me to consent to or ever agree. Once I know this kid is not mine, I am not willing to agree to an order that says pay 10%, 10 cents.
Right.
I wasn't willing to pay 10
Right.
cents per month. But here's what I propose to a child's mother. If you let us continue to see her, we will spend money on her while she is with us. And we will still continue to do things for her because she's been an integral part of my family's life. She was a member of my church family. And we love her. The
I was
mother
going to
said-
ask.
Right.
Sorry.
Well, the mother says, only if you agree to pay for supervised visitation and you have to still pay under the court order.
Did you tell her to kick rocks?
Yes. Right
Right.
then,
Sad.
Yeah,
But
I'll talk to her in a year from now when she's
guys,
18. And I have
right
to go through
then,
you.
I understood why some people cuss.
Mm-hmm.
I completely Why, right about that time, somebody would have been using all of their vocabulary that would make a sailor blush. Let's just say my no
Mm-hmm.
was a very strong no. And I said, are you sure? Because I'm not going to ever agree to you keeping, look, me agreeing to stay under their orders, allowing my freedom to be based on your state of mind and your mood. Absolutely not.
Right.
Because
Right.
look, you you would upset the whole financial stability and emotional stability of my entire household based on your lies. Now
Right.
you're going to treat me now as if I'm somehow the bad guy. If you had told the truth in the beginning, I'd never know your child.
Yep.
Your child would never know me. And by the way, that other gentleman who she named from the adjacent state, she says, well, if it's not Mr. Smith, it could only be Mr. EW. And then based on that, well, since we had her under oath, I gave some questions to my attorney that I wanted to know. And based on those answers, she actually got pregnant 6 weeks after I broke up with her. That is not the story, Elisa, that she told.
Oh my goodness.
6 weeks. I was never in the possibility of being a paternity candidate. All she
But your
had to
money
do,
was.
there you go. There you go. Staff
Your money was.
engineer.
Yep.
Listen, staff engineer, 2 cars, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, brick house, fireplace.
She said, this the one.
Right.
I had a crew of 8 DJs that worked for me, had been a DJ in college, and had taken it to the professional level. We were charging $200 an hour, providing
Wow.
sound, light, music, special effects, laser, the whole shebang. If your money was good and you signed a contract with a 50% deposit, we would do the grand ballroom at the Marriott Marquis in the Hilton for you. Your event was going to be off the hook.
Mm-hmm.
And I met her at
Sounds
one
like
of
it.
my client functions.
Wow.
I should have, look, I should not have offered to take her home. You dummy.
I mean, that's what all the guys are in this spot, right? We're all here for the exact same reason, man. Dang it, it was fun. And she looked cute in the moment. I couldn't help myself. And bam,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
system.
And by the
The
way,
system
I don't
comes
drink.
down hard for being a human.
You made a
and
conscious
having human
decision.
urges and-
Yep. I don't
Yeah,
drink.
right.
I don't drink at all. And the client asked me, well, she was there near the end when me and my roadies are there and we're packing all the gear up, and she was still there. And the client asked me, well, hey, you mind dropping her off? She lives not far from here. You mind dropping her off? And I did, and I snagged her phone number. Dummy.
Right? I thought you were so cool in the moment, though. You're like, man, I got that girl's number. How awesome am I right now? Living on best
Yeah.
life. You know what, though? You look at those things and that stuff happened. Idiot. What did it cost me? But what have you gained from this experience? Like how much of an impact have you had on this world to be better, right? To do a better job. You have had a huge impact on paternity testing and men's rights and stuff experience. And if you wouldn't have met that girl and been so bold to ask for her number and stuff and get it, you wouldn't have had the opportunity to change all this stuff. And so many guys that you've impacted personally and seen wouldn't have the results they got. And how many other millions of men out there right now are safe because of the work? It's amazing. And I'm glad you got that girl's number.
That's one way to look at it.
As much as I don't want to accept that honor,
That is one way.
I will concede the point that some good has come out of all of that miserable stuff. All right. And I would say not only did I get a chance to, be an advocate and a spokesman on paternity fraud internationally, including for Japan and several other countries. I've also advocated for legislative reform to change the child support laws so that they would be based on both parents' income, and also the whole principle about equal shared parenting with a
Yes.
rebuttable presumption of equal shared parenting. I've gotten a chance to advocate on that behalf. I wasn't the author, but I took what other people were doing, like Mark Ludwig and that organization. Um, I think they're doing phenomenal work. But look, someone has to be able to carry the message into other communities, right? And what
Yeah.
I found that
Yeah.
sometimes some groups of people, because if a person doesn't look that like them, they may not be so willing to hear the message unless
Right?
someone brings the message to them. And
Yes.
I've said this also to certain political parties that listen, sometimes you got to go to the mountain rather than hope the mountain comes to you. So if you're the better party and you're offering more choice and you're offering things that are more helpful to the economy and to the people's way of life, sometimes you got to get the message to them directly. I'll go.
Yeah.
And that
Right.
why am I'm making this point? To have the success in achieving as a rookie, achieving 163 to 0 state representative support, 45 to 5 in the Senate. That tells you I cut across all political party lines, cut
Yeah.
across social economic lines, cut across ethnic lines. You name the
I mean,
line,
Georgia's
we
a hot,
crossed
hot,
them.
hot state, right? You're inside the loop, it's Democrat. You're outside the loop, it's Republican, right? That's not how it works in Georgia. So I mean, you got to cross both those places. So
Well, I
it's
I myself I myself am a registered conservative, but you got to work with whoever's elected to the seat.
Yeah.
These are human rights issues. These are not partisan issues. What I have seen for eons is people go in and try to make the human rights issue a partisan issue, or they try to use it to flame a gender war.
Yeah.
Bad strategy. Just like there are things that affect moms who are primarily custodial parents, there are things that affect dads who are custodial parents.
Mm-hmm.
Flip the coin the other way.
Yep.
There are things that happen that severely affect non-custodial fathers. Well, guess what? I'm this crazy guy that would support a mother who's a non-custodial mom who has experienced the very same thing that our other 90% of guys are, because the media will listen to her one story to help get our issue out on the stage. Some people are not willing to think strategically, and they will tell that woman, get out of here, lady. You need to go get your own group, go form your own group of non-custodial mothers.
Oh, we heard
I
it
mean,
around here.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's that. Why do you think I told you before we started this call that Alicia should be the lead for shared parenting in Wyoming? I mean, I'm not an idiot.
exactly. Because what? It's human rights.
It is.
Right.
It doesn't
Absolutely.
matter about the gender, the ethnicity, the partisanship. Look, for most, I'm gonna say for my 30 plus years I've been out as a citizen advocate, what I have found, regardless of the people's background, if they were treated fairly, with justice and decency, equality, a lot of people could handle losing in court that they didn't get 100% of what they got, but they walked out with 45.
There you
But
go. Yeah.
sad to say, in a lot of the family court arena, it is a winner take all blood sport. And if you're the non custodial parent, you're on the bottom coming in the door.
Mm-hmm.
You're coming in on the bottom looking up saying, wait. When I lived with my kids, I was good enough to see them every day. Now that we have two different addresses, I'm only good enough to see them once
On the
every
weekends.
other week and once
Yep.
every other weekend and 2 weeks in the summer, unless I buy my house right down the street from where my kid lives.
I offered to buy my son's mom a townhouse who could live like next door. My son thinks it's the best idea. Yeah, we could put a gate between the fences. And I was like, heck yeah. And she goes, if you bought the house and you live right next door, he would be at your house every day. And I was like, I know. That's why
You're like,
I'm always
so?
saying
Exactly,
every
exactly.
single day.
But
Yeah, I know. She's like,
but
I
what do
can't
we
go to you
hear?
every day. Yeah,
I'm going to ask this question to you guys. I know that I've heard
yeah.
this for probably 30 years. They say, well, why didn't you dads fight more to see your kids more? And I always shout back,
Mm.
you moron. Why did he have to fight at
In the
all?
first place, yeah.
Because look, for all of the time that if the kid was with him, doesn't that mean you're freed up to go do other things?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, wait a minute. That you mean if you wanted to do an educational upgrade and shall we say enhance your marketable skills so that you could become a nurse or get your MBA or whatever, while the other parent has the kid, you could be working on your online courses and enhance your earning potential. Well, gee, or you could go out and go on a date. How would that be bad for you? Then you know what they tell me then? You're making too much sense. Stop talking.
If they were honest,
Right.
they'd go, well, gosh, the more
I'd rather have a
somebody else
Dunkin'
has the
Donuts than a
kid, then the
bagel.
less money I get. So,
But they also have less expenses though.
Well,
oh,
we talked, and we had Emma
you would
Johnson come on,
think,
and she's a
just,
wonderful
just,
writer and activist. You would think, yeah. Emma Johnson came on, and she was talking about that. Like, and she's written a couple of books about shared parenting and how it benefits women to actually have the kids be with the dad. Like flexibility, it gives you a chance to collect yourself and regroup and be a better mom because you
yes.
have that time. And like you said, you can go out there, you can get more skills, you can go out and go dancing, you can get out with your friends, and you don't gotta do it in at the detriment of your kids connecting, that kind of stuff. You get to do it while they're being supported, and then when you get them back home, you have just that much more to give. Your cup is so much more full that you can just be a better giving, more connected parent. But what happens when you do that is that the state makes less money, and they hate that. So how you
Yeah.
gonna pay for all these programs? Like we got a lot of employees you got to take care of right now. Kids.
Well, here's a radical idea. If we downsize those state agencies, then wouldn't that reduce the burden on the taxpayers of the state?
Mm,
You would
Okay, so
think,
then
but
so
yeah.
so let's change the model a little bit. Watch this. I'm gonna flip this in reverse. So if I had a Thanos snap,
ooh,
I want a Thanos
I would
moment.
I would flip this. Oh, maybe hold on. Let me put my echo on.
yeah.
There we go. If I had a Thanos snap capability, we wouldn't make the support based on how much we keep the kid away from the non-custodial parent. I would reward the people who made sure the kid had frequent, consistent, quality contact with both sides of their family and with the parents operating in a spirit of cooperative support for the kid. And the more
Mm-hmm.
people who got that done, those people would be the ones who would have less fighting in court, and therefore they wouldn't need the freaking court. Huh. Oh, but then we won't need all of these state agencies, like the Garden Ad Litem. We wouldn't need all of these independent assessments and the psychoanalyst assessment. Wait a minute, these people didn't need all that crap when they were living in the same address. Why do they
Right.
suddenly need
Mm-hmm.
it now that they got two different addresses?
Yeah.
All of these, look,
Right.
and let's also take a torch to the silver bullet too. You need to come
Mm-hmm.
in and swear under oath that you've been harmed
Yep.
and present independently verifiable evidence, and there be an established presumption of innocence,
I
not
I
based
have
Amen.
on an
still one of
accusation.
my accused of abuse of his daughter, and the state takes the kid. They do all the testing, show that there's no proof. Right, the mom has now filed for 3 continuances, and the judge continues to give her continuances. And I go, you have got to follow this. This judge is breaking the law, and he's like,
This is
I don't know what to
judicial
do.
abuse.
Yeah, I was like, your daughter you were the custodial parent for a year and a half straight. They took the kid on lies. The state has done their tests, still has not given the kid back to you. And this lawyer for the mom and the mom continue to keep filing continuous to him. So the liar, the fraudulent, abusing parent who is abusing the kid by holding him from a loving and caring father is in control of this kid. And the dad is sitting here because he has no money, being kept from the kid. And the judge, knowing she's breaking the law, does not care one bit about breaking the law. And I'm convinced this judge is going to give the mom custody after it's all done, even though all the agencies are going to say that she lied.
Yeah. And that's probably what's going to happen. I mean,
it'd be different though.
And this judge is going to use it. Right. They need to be under oath. They need to lie under oath. You have perjury. And now we're coming after you with the extent of the law. But then you have this judge who's out there, if she goes to what she said, now she looks bad, right? Because she gave us protection order and she's held this kid hostage. She's broken the law now for 2 months. And again, has continued this TRO for 2 months, 4 months when they actually have a court hearing. If they even have a court hearing when this new continuance is done up. I mean, it is unbelievable what this judge is doing and how she's just blatantly breaking the law. And she only has to get called on it. She's getting called on it right now. And I know she's not watching, but they're due seeing this episode. And the Supreme Court should be getting called on this stuff. So she's in Sheridan, Wyoming. In case you want to know where she's at.
But do you know what you just told me, Zachary?
Yeah.
You just told me the parent. You just told me which parent is hostile toward the child having frequent, consistent, quality contact with both sides of their family. Therefore, we should change custody based on that.
Right.
Because that party has demonstrated the inability or the willingness to not operate in the kid's best interest.
Right. And we've talked about that a little bit before, that there are a few more judges, it seems, to be coming around.
Shout out to Jared Black there.
Yeah. It makes too much sense.
Right.
Anyway, some judges that will switch custody based off that.
But only after a long pattern.
That's true.
I've seen over years, I've seen the custody change, but the person that had to come back for 54 hearings. Do you know?
Right.
Look,
yeah.
I'm going to shock you with something here. Do you know what one of the number one causes of bankruptcy is in America?
Family court. I'm just guessing.
That's right. And I was going to say.
Yes, I got it.
Look, to the non-custodial parent, guess what the number one cause of bankruptcy is? Family court.
Right. Family court.
Yeah.
And I got that information from bankruptcy attorneys.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that, people.
They do family law and bankruptcies. That's what I do. That's my specialty.
Oh boy.
Well, I've actually seen child support agencies go after judges who were trying to be fair. In Texas, I saw this judge. I think maybe his last name was Hanshin or something like that. But the judge, when paternity fraud cases came in his court, he's like, "This is ridiculous," and he would set them in free. Do you know the child support agency all the way up to the what's the darn highest office? The attorney general's office.
Okay.
Would appeal and win because the judge dared to venture outside of established case law.
Wow.
So
yeah.
And they actually campaigned against this. They campaigned against that judge.
Yeah.
But the people reelected that judge.
Right, because they don't know anything. That's why most people have no freaking idea what these. He's already been the judge. I'll just reelect the same guy because.
But in this case, this was a good judge. This judge was. Remember, family court is a court of equity. So if you don't have statutory law to limit what the judge can do, the judge has broad discretion. In fact, I don't think there's a court where a judge has as much discretion as family court. You could go to court, you could literally go to jail in family court on contempt and be in jail for 20 years. It has
Yeah.
happened.
Oh, my judge threatened me with contempt. He threw everything at. It's like, you just messed up one time, Mr. Martin, and I'm gonna throw you in jail for at least 6 months. And I was like, this guy's serious. He hates me.
Wow. Well, look, I think I should
He
at
retired
least,
since then.
well,
So
let me temper my response a little bit. I am not a hater of the judicial branch of our government. What I hate is when they don't apply the law equally.
yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah,
You will not see
completely
me
agree.
stand on any side saying, well, you should only treat people who are my ethnicity. You should give them a free pass, and everybody else you should throw the book at. No.
Right.
As an American of African descent, I think the court should administrate the law fairly, justly, and equally. If moms do wrong, they should be punished. If dads do wrong, they should be punished,
Right.
regardless of
And that
your
law that we have,
affiliations.
the system works really well. We have a great system, but it's made for people going to court, and there's a winner and a loser based on facts.
Yeah.
And then you go to family
Yeah.
court, and it's just the three-ring circus with no rules and no accountability for any judges of what they do. They have complete discretion, and they usually just follow the simplest guidelines because it requires them to do no actual work, and they hate it. And so it's like it is the one area that needs the most amount of work, because most other laws and stuff, and most of the way that the judicial system works, it works properly and it functions in a very responsible way. But in family court, it is not that. It is the Wild
Absolutely.
West, and it is damaging and destructive, and it is causing so much harm to our country by the way these judges are ruling on stuff and the way
Yeah.
that the laws are set up.
And there's one
So,
more
and
area.
we need activists.
Look, and we need activists and advocates, but one more area that I've since, I had enough experience with it. I learned it. I found out the number one reason that people don't prevail past their bench trial in family court is family law is a area of discretionary appeal. Let me say that slowly.
Yep, say it slowly.
Discretionary appeal. So the next higher court is not required to hear your case. So if you lose at the first trial, you have one hell of a mountain to climb. Even with the facts, with your record, you got the transcripts, you brought in your own court reporter, you have established case law that is ruled in your favor. The next higher court does not have to hear your case in family law. So you're constitutionally protected in criminal law. And I've seen, Zachary, people, they think that because it works one way in criminal law, they apply that mindset to family law, and they're like, but how could I lose? I got the facts. Yeah, but you didn't win at the bench.
Right.
And
your facts got to be extra special at that point in time, that the judge abuses discretion, because otherwise, hey, sorry, judge gets to decide, and he hates blue, and you should have known that, but you still wore blue, so therefore, every other weekend. So.
And the higher court will defer to the lower court, saying, well, the lower court had the benefit of listening to witnesses and testimony, and anything that's not in the record that you submit to the higher court, you don't get to bring up unless you're bringing up constitutional challenges. And those constitutional challenges, I had attorneys look at, and they said, you were on point. However, because it falls in family law, it's a discretionary appeal. So your state appellate court could choose to not hear it. Your state Supreme Court can decide to not hear it. And the U.S. Supreme Court, even when presented with evidence of over 1 million men and boys in the same spot, can choose to not hear the case, not even provide you with a reason for why they rejected your petition. And when you don't know the exact reason they rejected your petition, that 10, 15-day window, whatever it is, you trying to do a motion for reconsideration, you literally throwing the balls up in the air trying to figure out, well, what else can I say that I didn't do? I shot for bear on that round when I took it before them. What else
Right.
can I do? You've heard of this thing called subject matter jurisdiction, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So the initial bench court made its decision under the assumption, when the mother alleged I was the biological father, every decision was based on what she had submitted in her brief under her documents, right? Well, once you know that is patently false and it has independently verifiable evidence, she even challenged my DNA test and said my DNA test was wrong. So we took another DNA test that she chose the lab. Same results. And yet the bench trial says it was my fault that I didn't find out sooner, before I had any information, that she lied to me when she said, I'm pregnant and you're the father. So what that taught me going forward, never take any verbal claims about paternity. Never sign any document admitting to paternity unless you have test results in your hand to prove that what has been claimed now has independently verifiable information. And shout out to Chuck Dizzle. Love that guy, man. That dude's been battling to be a dad, man.
Yeah, he has. He's a great guy. He was on the show a couple weeks ago. Passion and energy and going through the experience that he's gone through, just to have him like show up for his community and make such a big difference. It's an amazing thing to see people in this movement who overcome the things that have been put in their way, the way that the systems try to beat them down, find a way to come back and be better. Like, I'm not gonna let you beat me and defeat me. I'm gonna be a better man and a better citizen for our community because of what you've done, and you can't stop me. And that's what he does. And it's pretty amazing. You should check it out.
Believe me, I've talked to him. I've talked to him. I know the guy. I've talked to him.
Yeah. I love Chuck. Yeah, he was hitting me up while I was on the thing. I was like, "Yo, I'm on the podcast with Carnell. Why are you not on here right now?" So there you go.
Well, look,
where you at?
Well, in spite of all of the hate and the opposition that I get directed to me, that try to say that, yeah, but you're advocating for paternity tests, you hate kids and all that stuff, or you hate women. And I'm like, dude, I have 7 sisters and a wife.
Right.
And a daughter.
Right.
And 2 granddaughters. I don't hate women. I hate when the court uses lies to punish an innocent party for what the liar did, and then make that guy suffer. Because here's the thing. You endangered my life and my liberty and my pursuit of happiness. And if I go to prison for refusing to pay this child support, my wife and my daughter, DNA verified daughter, would be out in the streets. Now, how would that be fair? How would that be just? How would that have any sense of like equality? One woman lies and a married woman and her baby suffer because the other woman lied to that woman's husband. And that's his fault? No. I refuse to accept
no
it.
logic in it whatsoever. Yeah. No. I'm glad you've been fighting for it. I think it needs to be done more often, and maybe it's something you and I actually, it's something that I would like to spend some more time with you working on. Learning the states that have got these good laws that you've helped get in place, and then looking at the laws that like South Dakota and Wyoming, the ones that I'm, actively involved in, laws here in our states, and then move them around the country. It's just continuing the process and continue the growth of bringing this change, because it's so important that that guys get protected and guys know their rights, and we don't get abused just because we're guys, and treated because we have that vibe. I'm a supporter, I'm gonna step up to the plate, like, I heard all these guys that don't do this stuff, and I'm stepping up and I'm gonna do my duty, and then it ends up being not your kid. You're like, oh, now my duty is to pay for this kid. And like I said, I couldn't even imagine what that guy felt like when he was going through that. His daughter, they was told his daughter knows that it's not his daughter, paying for this kid, paying the mom, so, helping her buy her Hummer and helping her have this house and stuff that she lives in, and supporting her. And he's living in a trailer down by railroad tracks, and
Yeah.
she has all this stuff because she lied and stole from him,
Yep.
having
Yep.
his kid. And it's like that shouldn't be okay. But that is the way we have to
and
be
it's not
changed.
fair.
It's not. It's not
Yeah.
fair. Hey,
Absolutely.
Carnell, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, thank you, Zach, for allowing me to be on with you. I know it was a long interview. I hope this will be
No,
something
man, a
that
blessing.
will inspire people that when you are a victim, don't just lay down and take it. Find out what can be done about it. So how can they reach me? I'm Carnell Smith. I am the Paternity Coach. So how you reach me? At thepaternitycoach.com. paternitycoach.com. From there, you'll find there are some ways to engage me in some services. I provide coaching services. Some people want to tackle legislative reform. Some people have concerns and questions about their own family law cases. I helped a lady whose father for the kid got killed on his job, and she had never established paternity for that kid. And after I helped her, the kid managed to become the recipient of the wrongful death lawsuit because I helped her prove the kid was that guy was that kid's father, with help from the medical examiner and the guy's biological daughter who was still alive. I was able to prove that that older adult daughter and the new baby girl were sisters. Somebody has to come think outside of the box. Just because there's a problem and you might not know how to solve it, somebody on this planet knows how. I'm not saying I know all the answers, but I may know somebody like Zach. I may know someone like Mark Ludwig and a litany of other advocates and a whole network of other people and other organizations. They know people who can connect you, who could help you, but you got to take the first step. No one can do anything when a person is not willing to first say, I need help. It is very
Yes,
difficult.
so true.
Zachary, it is very difficult to try to help a person who says, no, man, I'm going to just keep my head down and I'm going to try not to make any waves. And I hope if they don't bother me too bad, that they'll just give me a little breathing room and I'll just get me an extra job. And he just trapped himself, Zachary, because they're going to raise his child support to consume his part-time job. And then when he quits the part-time job, they will not decrease the child support now. So now he's trapped. It's not always
Right.
so much as how you do it. It's about getting the ways and the options how to do it. And that's why you need a great person like Zachary and other members of the legal community who are passionate about helping non-custodial parents. They know that those people start out at the bottom of the hill. They walk into the family court, standing at the bottom, looking up. Hey, can I get some help? Can I get some justice? Your Honor, can my kid count on you to help them have frequent, consistent contact with both sides of their family? Your Honor, can my kid count on you? I'm Carnell Smith, the Paternity Coach. I think that everybody can be an advocate in some way. You can learn how to do court watch. You can help somebody else's case. You can testify on what you saw happen in family court. You can tell your legislators about it. You can tell your church about it. You can ask your church to pray for non-custodial parents, because guess what? It ain't just moms that need help. Because Father's Day is coming up, and this is one of the number one loneliest holidays of the year. I'm going to say it again. Father's Day is one of the loneliest holidays of the year, and the father will be making the financial contribution, working like a mule and paying the bills, and no one gives him credit. But yet, all he's deemed is as a disposable resource. We're men, we hurt too. We're men, we got a heart, we bleed, and we love our kids. Kids need dads, and dad needs kids. And I'm an advocate
Heck
for
yeah.
both.
Heck yeah. Yeah, me too, man. Hey, Carnell, I love you, man. I appreciate your time coming on today. I think he was so right that everybody has an opportunity and responsibility. Like, do it for yourself, do it for your kids. Like, this is something that needs to be fought. There's so many things that you can do. You don't have to go out there and go to the Supreme Court and do this big fight, but you can show up. You can send an email, you know, you can make a phone call. Make a phone call and just say, hey man, I want something about shared parenting. And even just having that discussion makes a big difference. Being one of those people who makes that call, who sends that email, even if you can't show up, and they track those things, they know what's going on, and the lawyers show up. The lawyers show up. The DV advocates, they show up. The people that are against us come in force, and they get paid to do it.
Yep.
And we don't, and we have to give up on work. But you can show up in other ways and get your voice heard, and you need to go out and get your voice heard. We're at the city on Father's Day. We're doing the largest outdoor water gun fight here in Rapid City, South Dakota. And next year we're going to the Guinness World Record, and it's going to be amazing. And like, come to those things.
Send me some pictures.
City, come. Oh, dude, I'm going to send you some pictures. It's going to be fantastic. I've gotten some big support from a few things this year. It's going to be incredible. But Philly Slim, if you know Philly Slim,
yeah,
Philly's coming out. He's going to be the DJ, and he's going to be the
this is going to be off the hook.
Show. Yeah, dude, it's gonna be legit. So it's gonna be a lot of fun, and that's the stuff that I really enjoy and I'm good at. And so we have a whole bunch of events coming up here in Rapid City, and people in the part that you can do to help out other dads, help the experience to be better, and then fighting to be the change. Because what you don't want to have happen is I don't want my son to go through what I went through.
Yes.
And
yes.
Only way I can prevent my son from doing that is by being active every day, doing these things. I went to law school because of that. Of what I had, and knowing that I needed more tools to do this combating, and that there was nobody out there doing what I want to do. And so I'm here now. I'm going to pass the bar July 31st, and I'm going to continue to keep making a bigger difference. And I can't wait to do more stuff with you, Carnell. You are continue to keep giving and giving, and you never gave up on yourself. You know, like, you didn't just roll over and take it, even though you're told no and told no and told no, and put down and belittle for the choice that you made or didn't make in a situation. And you never give up on yourself. You always believe the huge thing that so many dads can take inspiration from is that you're worthy and deserving of that respect and care, and that there's nothing more important than what you do to take care of yourself. Always put yourself first. And I applaud you. And
I want to say something that is right on point with what you just did. Guess who inspired me to be tenacious?
Who?
My dad.
Yeah.
And my dad,
that one bit.
And my dad got the chance to see me win my case in court, and he got a chance to see me publish my book. And he says, You should have written this book years ago, but I wanted him to be proud of me because I have helped non-custodial dads. I've helped custodial dads because I didn't want my son to have to deal with this same miserable mess like I did.
Hey, yeah. One second before we hang up,
what was his question?
Nicholas, I don't know, Nicholas. I missed your question. I apologize. Oh, is it the question about, have you guys ever touched base on the prevalence of married women cheating now? Okay. Nicholas, I apologize for not taking that. I think that's the question he's asking. I went back and found twice. So yes, he said yes. Okay, there we go. Thank you.
Yes.
You can read it on there right now, Carnell.
So if we touched on the prevalence of women cheating now, yes, and this is a direct spinoff of second, third wave feminism. That whole thing about where they can do everything that men can do. Usually this whole belief that men are the only ones who have multiple intimate partners. Not true.
Right.
Men may have had the most publicity on it, but a lot of times women try to use shaming tactics to try to suppress men on speaking out about these things. Thank God that we have the internet and social media where men have started to see across the planet that what's happening to the guys over here is happening to the guys in America in the other Western speaking countries, what they're seeing that in all these countries where feminism has had a touch, the social mores, if you will, and the I'm going to say the morality thermometer has plummeted. Now, I don't begrudge them for wanting to be able to do and live a highly immoral life. That's their choice, but they can't try to use their gender to get special privilege. What I mean by that, they say they want equality, but then they want to skip over and negate equal accountability and equal responsibility. I draw the line right there. If you're a woman enough to be out there running the streets with multiple men, you do not get to pick who is your baby's daddy based on the guy who has the highest net worth, or the guy who you think who is the tallest, or the guy who looks the best, or the guy who has the Corvette, or the guy who has the Cadillac, or the Benz, or the BMW. All of these, or the guy who looks most like the baby. All of these are patently proven low standards to pick a child's father. These women go so far as to try to pick the father after they have conceived. This is preposterous. If anything, if we did DNA testing as a standard practice using what we call economy of scale by increasing the number of tests, we could actually drive the cost of testing down to the point where it should be part of the standard package with the insurance program, so that before that baby rolled out the hospital, we would know whose name really belongs on that birth certificate. Because if you're alleging and you're willing to swear under oath that this is the biological mother and this is the biological father, then that kid can rely on that document as a bona fide, verified document of authenticity. Anybody else, that's just a document that has some words on it. It doesn't prove that's your mom. It doesn't prove that's your dad. It just proves these are some people who signed the document. Listen, in the hospitals, when a mom swaps babies accidentally, or there have been women who've gone to the hospitals and kidnapped other people's babies and tried to leave. When moms leave the babies with the wrong baby at the hospital, that is deemed to be so significant and so important that biology matters when women get signed up with somebody else's kid. When in biology should matter when somebody who is the father's found out he's on somebody else's kid's birth certificate. Now, that doesn't negate people who knowingly and willingly adopt kids or participate in assisted pregnancy, like in vitro fertilization, artificial insemination. These are things that the guy participate in with his explicit, his explicit consent up front. No trickery, no lies, no hiding. All of those things, right? We should remove those from, weapons of choice to allow women and girls to just pick the guy who she wants it to be. That's not how this is done. And I'm going to dare say, why should he face going to jail and prison based on her inability to correctly identify who her child's father is? Because sometimes the woman is dating multiple people, what we call parallel dating. Like that detective agency that followed this married woman who went to 4 different men after she left her husband sleep at home in the bed. And they followed her with a camera crew. They documented it. He had all that he needed for a divorce, my good man. But he was severely crushed when he found out none of the kids were his. Those 5 pastors that I've met, they were all horribly hurt to find out the kids from their marriages were not theirs, and that they had actually married Jezebel in reincarnate.
Yes. Right.
How do you blame the pastor? Now, in my mind, truth should matter in every court, and it should be relevant. Hey, Chuck.
Hey, y'all.
Hey,
I actually have some value added. I actually have just one thing to say, that Carnell, Zach, Alicia, you guys are bringing real sauce. Always, as always. I have one thing I want to say. Carnell, can I say one thing to you, sir?
Sure.
We go back to 1969. The
Mhm.
only way you could get out of a marriage
Mhm.
was adultery
Mhm.
or abandonment.
Mhm.
And we talk about the games and the gamesmanship, but we don't talk about Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump are the only two presidents in the history of this country that have gotten a divorce. And Ronald Reagan manipulated legislation
Mm.
so he could get out of his divorce, which
Mm.
was the definition of how we got to no
No
fault.
fault divorce.
I'm so sorry, Carnell. I just wanted to come
Wow.
on there and
Okay.
you've got infinite wisdom, as does Zach. But like, do you have thoughts on like how do we combat as a guy where it's women get cash and prizes and all the things,
Mhm.
but if the man is loyal and doesn't abandon you or doesn't commit adultery, they were fine going back to the 1970s before.
Mhm. Mhm.
But if we do that now, we get cash and prizes. I
Mhm.
just sorry. I'll be quiet.
Okay. Okay.
I'll be quiet. I was like,
Oh no, I get it. I get it.
Wait,
Uh,
he can't be quiet, Carnell. I had to mute him because Chuck won't shut up. I know what's going on here.
well, I'll say this. I'll say this. I'm going to say a majority of the states now have passed no fault divorce. And I think there's less than, I know there's less than 12 states that are allow for an at fault divorce, even with provable grounds of adultery. Those no fault states, you know what they've decided? That a huge lobbying arm for a family court is the family law section of the bar. Know who has opposed me vehemently on legislative reform? The family law section of State Bar Association.
Yeah.
The American Bar Association. And they're approaching this from the point of view of you do something that will reduce litigation and reduce the number of divorces, it will reduce the amount of revenue available from the $60+ billion divorce industry. So it becomes self-serving, in my humble opinion.
yeah.
They have the right to advocate for their industry. What doesn't happen, Chuck, on our side, we don't have enough guys who are willing to take off a day of work to go offer testimony before their state legislature of what happened to them.
So true.
You
So
want to
true.
know how I got legislation changed by lobbying? I spent my entire vacation during the legislative session, and I was at every committee meeting, every subcommittee meeting, every offline. I took senators out to lunch. I would meet with the committee chair. But here's the thing, though, Chuck. I understood that it was bigger than just me.
Oh yeah.
I also understood that everybody couldn't come. Some people physically can't do it. Some people don't have jobs where they get paid time off. But for those that are able to, we don't get the numbers, Chuck, like if the National Organization of Women, if the National Organization of Women call for a bunch of moms to show up with school buses to protest paternity fraud legislation, guess what? They showed up. They showed up with women and kids on school buses to protest paternity fraud legislation.
Yep.
What they didn't count on is I showed up with more women than they did.
Wow.
Right.
We have a lot more women on our side, and I'm going to say this, among the advocacy groups I've seen for years, we are not always as an inviting, Chuck, to include if there's women affected by the very same thing that we're affected by. We don't welcome them in and try to use them to help us broaden our messaging so that we can get the message heard. There's time, Chuck, that I've prepared a woman to literally go have her present the speech that I was going to use. I prepped her to go first because I knew I was in a hostile audience to men. I must say that again. I read the room and I understood I was in an area that was hostile to men. But once I put her up first, they were willing to hear the victim impact statements from all of the guys and their wives and how it was affecting their families and how it was affecting their quality of life. And that truck driver you heard me mention, when they took the child support from him for kids that weren't his, he was left with $200 between paychecks. I invited that guy to come tell his story before the state legislature after he was already out of the child support system. And because I asked him to, he came and he had an impact. Did you hear that?
Are you familiar with Bayard Rustin, Martin Luther King's right hand guy? Bayard Rustin, he's just an unbelievable advocate for civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can share that with the audience, on Netflix, there's a Rustin, and the guy was just brilliant. He was an innovator. He was Martin Luther King's and NAACP. Like, he knew how to get the attention, school buses, how to bring people together as one. And Carnell, I'm so sorry to go there. I'm just like, literally, it's what it's going to take. Like, us coming together as one. Yes. We need school buses. We need Washington, D.C. We need to be on the front doorsteps of Congress to say, and you talk about women. Women are going to be our champion. That's the only way we're going to solve this. Like, we
got to be mindful of the fact that they have been better social networkers than us guys for decades.
Yeah,
because But look, but it's been second nature for them.
Yep.
We had to learn it. Because a lot of times I would literally see a guy who would be suffering and the guy who could help him was right next to him. But the guy who was suffering never spoke up.
Yeah.
He thought all he was told to suffer in silence.
Yeah.
And what that'll do, Chuck, that'll kill us.
Yeah, like I'll say this, like, you talk about like just different people that you have avenues to, like Mark Ludwig, or these people have like super funds that, like, outside of us in our movement, these lobbyists and these family law reforms, they have millions of dollars, and we're not saying anything to diminish our role. We're just saying we're not being heard, and we need to come together. Kids Deserve Dads, Pissed Off Parent, American for Equal Shared Parenting. We need to rally together. And I'm so sorry to like kind of throw this in there out of the blue, but I'm going to be a 501c3. I don't know what I'm going to be. I'm raising a farm. Like, I'm feeding my whole community. I'm not looking for attention or credit. Literally, Carnell, since you and I talked, I'm not trying to cry. I have 3 acres. I give out 317 boxes this year, and I don't want credit. What I'm saying is I've rallied around my community to make where I live a better place, and it's going to take us dads and Zach with Kids Deserve Dads and his water gun fight coming up, which is awesome, which is all Carnell. All your work you're doing with all the parenting stuff about paternity fraud. You guys have got to go to Carnell, and I'm not playing games. I've met with Carnell. The dude is legit. Sorry, I'm not trying to shamefully post you. Like, bro, Carnell is on his stuff. Legit. And I'm sorry to like bring it together, but like, we're a team. We've got to be a team. Like, this legislation that we have, dads stand no chance. And we've got to come together to have Zach jump in. I know Zach's ready to jump in. But it is
encouraging.
All right, no, I'm just being, we got to be a team. We got to be united. And why I brought up Bayard Rustin, it was Martin Luther King's right hand. That dude was a legend. He
thought outside the box, Chuck. That's the thing.
Am I missing that? Am I out of line for saying that?
No,
or am
you're
I
not. No. I said, but he thought outside of the box.
Outside the box.
Yes. And I'm going to say this. There are advocates in our midst. It's 2024. There are advocates who are thinking outside of the box. I am not making no stake to try to claim I got all the answers. I'm saying I support a lot of groups and a lot of organizations who are doing things because the overall mission is if we help kids have more frequent, consistent, and quality time with both sides of their family, we can keep them out of the juvenile system. And if we can keep them out of the juvenile system, we can keep them out of the school to prison pipeline, and we can help them become productive, healthy, happy citizens who don't have to go through that other alternative path. This miserable system that says it's a winner and a loser, and kids are going to get 95% of their time over here. And if it's interfered with, they're going to get 100% of their time over here, because we base our model on, we send the money to whoever gets the most time. So as a default, there's going to be a solid loser, even though they're not proven to be unfit. They're not proven to be a danger or a threat to their kid. And in fact, the kid wants to live with them. And the only reason the kid wasn't allowed to live with them, they wasn't old enough to exercise that choice in that particular state. This right here, it can happen, but you got to have a group, a part of the group doing public relations. There has to be a mission minded toward public relations. This event that Zachary is doing coming up, this is a phenomenal public relations opportunity. And he's going to get to build relations with those dads and with those kids. And guess what? Smart-minded people will start to teach kids, you could do things to help us reach other kids, like those kids who wish they could see their dads, who wish their dads could be here. We could help the kids talk about, well, what would it be like if they could have their state legislators help kids like them get to see their dads more. PR event is necessary. There has to be a advocacy mission minded toward legislative reform. Come to legislators with solutions. Sometimes people go to them and just tell them, we want all of these demands or nothing. That's a dumb strategy. Go in and be willing to do what I call incremental victories. If the first year you go in and you get 30% of what you wanted, man, that is a freaking victory. Don't go in saying, if I don't get 100%, you guys suck, and then turn around and alienate the very elected official who you need their vote for. Too many people do that the wrong way, Chuck. And then they make it, they end up making it a personal flame war with the person who's elected to the seat.
I say one thing, so just for the audience out there, like, I've been going through this for 6 years. I've gotten 3 hours with my kids. I love them to all my heart, and I'm not being negative. I think if we could get doctors, like, if you're fit, willing, and able, and you get that diagnosis from a psychiatrist, from a medical professional, how can a judge then say, we're going to award full custody to the custodial parent? But if you're fit, willing, and able, but how is a judge in that seat able to sit there with his immunity, like, they're gonna delete a parent? But if a psychiatrist is the person that's in the profession to say you're fit, willing, and able, I mean, they're gonna delete you a dime a dozen. And if you come in there with that paperwork, like, it's almost like we have to educate these fathers to come up with a new game plan. Like, get out in front of your attorney. Here's my psychiatrist. Here's my mental health professional. Here's my, like, all these things, and say, get these people, psychiatrists here, and I'm fit, willing, and able. I can parent my child. And you go in there to the court, and the judge still gets to say best interest.
But you got to play the long game, Chuck. You got to come in and play the long game. Remember, hold on, listen to me. There was a time that using what we called almost it was almost a genteel. They were so accustomed that from a societal point of view, kids were automatically raised by mothers as their first teacher of culture. And because moms, by and large, at a date and a time, probably 90% of the moms were stay-at-home moms back in that date and time. We're no longer in that day. But I'll say this much. Thinking out the box like you are right now, I would dare say if guys, when their initial consultation with their family law attorneys, were to start asking, what all can I do to help my case, to help my kid be able to see me more? And if it means I go get the drug test, I go get the psychological evaluation, I go do all these things. So as a preemptive strike, I arm my advocate, my legal counsel, my legal eagle to come in and do battle for my kid. Look, not for me, to do battle for my kid. And every time I'm talking in the court, I'm talking about, Your Honor, kids who get frequent, consistent, quality contact with both of their family. And it can't be once every other week and once every other weekend. That ain't quality contact. That ain't consistent contact. That's not enough to yield any measurable influence in the kid's life as an active, guiding, loving father. Your Honor, what would have happened to you had you not had an active guiding hand in your life, whether it was some father figure or step parent who stepped into place? At this point, we should be thinking of ways, how do we reduce the impact of kids not being actively parented by fathers?
Right.
We have a prison and juvenile community that has too many participants by the lack of fathering. Because for a lot of kids, they haven't seen a male with as an authority figure, as an active guiding hand to yield influence, and they need both. Hello, they need both. They've never seen it.
Yep.
But,
you go to
yeah.
most kids are raised by their moms. You go to schools, 90% of teachers are women.
Yep.
They only see guys on weekends.
Yep. Yep.
That's
maybe
his dad's out there at sports.
The exercise coach, right? The physical therapy,
right.
The PT coach,
PE teacher. Yep. Yep.
Just to break the news on this of all times, I meet with my fourth guardian ad litem on Friday, and it's been
all right.
It's been 45 months since the last. This is the fourth guardian ad litem. And the third guardian ad litem gave me 3 hours in over 3.5 years. But I just want to tell you guys, I've got multiple doctors that have written this new gal my fitness. And and again, this is not about this. We're talking about paternity fraud. We're talking about Carnell stuff and Zach and the water gun fight, which is amazing. I just want to say for the record, like on the air, like literally, like I've gotten 3 hours in 6 years. You guys can do it. Hang in there. Like stay tough. Stay in the fight.
That's called playing the long game.
Carnell will talk about chicanery. Zach will talk about all the amazing things that just being a dad, like just and Carnell has got a brilliant mind. Like these are brilliant folks that I don't know why I'm on here. Thank you. But like you guys are brilliant. I'm the resilient, tough son of a gun that just won't go away. I've had 6 judges. I've had 7 reunification therapists. I've had 4 guardian ad litems. And the only reason why I asked to be on here is like, let's talk about like resilience. Let's talk about perseverance. Let's talk about listening to Zach, and let's talk about listening to Carnell. And I'm gonna pass the mic, but like I got trial in 15 days. I've had 24 continuances. 24 continuances.
Wow.
Like, I'm not trying to be rude. This is a real thing. This is real. And I'm fit, willing, and able. Sorry, I'm done. I'm done.
And if it's happening to you, it's happening to other people's stuff too. You know, if it's happening to you, it's happening to other people also. You know, like you're not, I mean, yours might be like to the far extreme, right? Like and probably because you're such a persistent SOB that you won't stop.
Tenacious.
You keep going and keep going. Yeah. Whereas do this and they might have given up and going, you know what, man, it's been 2 years. I haven't seen my kids. I've gone through 4 lawyers and 5 judges and I'm over it, you know?
Yeah.
I applaud you for having no quit.
Yeah.
I think that's it's an admirable quality, and it can be painful in the end, you always will know that you gave everything, and you never surrendered. And
Yeah.
and there's something to be said for never giving up on yourself and never stopping the fight for what you believe and want to
Mm-hmm.
happen in your life, and going
Mm-hmm.
for it with every single ounce of your beingness. And um,
Mm-hmm.
so,
I
in case you're
applaud
wondering,
Chuck. I applaud Chuck. And
yeah,
Jared's quite right here too. I've seen that where he
yeah,
says a lot of dads are too scared to speak up, and they hide behind attorneys who don't even try. I'm going to say this. In my humble opinion, there's two categories of attorneys. There's negotiators, and then there are the litigators. In my humble opinion, some don't really want to go in the courtroom and aggressively represent the client's interests because
no, they're
that
scared, man.
involves
Court
conflict.
is scary.
Yeah, that involves
Yeah,
conflict. Now, if we can
yeah,
negotiate in my office or in your office, well, who's bringing the cokes?
right,
Look, we got the
right.
ice, you bring the Coke or the Pepsi. Okay. But
Right.
now, you ever heard the term learned helplessness? I think nothing can be done. Therefore, I do nothing to try, and therefore, nothing can be done.
Right.
Well, I've seen guys that sometimes in their life, they've never really had to go the distance. And I'm going to tell you things that my father encouraged me to do. Zach, I literally ran a race in high school and came in dead last and got a standing ovation. Here's why. I ran a 15,000 meter event. You know, that's a long run.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody starts at the start line, which becomes a finish line. They all start out at that same line, right? But the only way you officially get timed for the race and get your placement is you have to finish the race. Well, as we ran this race, everybody lapped me multiple times. In fact, I was so far back in the back of the pack that the people in the stands were laughing at me. Now, depending on what kind of cloth you cut from, that might be enough to make you quit. That might be enough to make you just give up and say, I don't need all this. I don't need this hassle. But what if you had a dad said, man, but you got to finish what you start. If you're not going to finish it, don't even start it. Don't even attempt it. Just skip it. But if you going to start it, you got to finish it. Don't matter what place you come in, you got to finish. I kept running that race, guys. When I got to run the last lap, man, there was a bunch of cheering starting to happen in the stands. You would have thought I was a freaking celebrity. And as I finally managed to drag myself across that finish line, man, I got a standing ovation. And I learned something for life from that one race. Everybody might start out at the same place, but as time goes on, we end up in different places. Some people gonna fall on the wayside along the way. Some people gonna give up. Some people gonna go at a faster pace. Some people gonna go at a slower pace. But what happens when you just say, but I'm gonna finish this race. I'm gonna be like the turtle in that rabbit. Even though them other people, they might have been fancier than me, smarter than me. They had more stuff than me. They had all the talent than me. But doggone it, I'm gonna finish. That is what I brought to legislative reform after a 5-year fight to the Supreme Court of the United States after every one of them courts told me no. I remember what my father said. If you start it, you got to finish it.
Finish it.
But it wasn't just for me. Do you understand me? It wasn't just for me.
You always get me going, Carnell. Every time I talk to you, you got that inspiration of you inspire the folks listening, listen to what Carnell is saying. Like, fight, like, just like do it the right way, because Carnell got thrown a bad deck, and he just.
Well, Chuck, you got thrown a bad deck, and you're still living in it.
Let's say this. Let's say this. Just for the audience, if I can relate to the audience, because that's kind of apparently that's my message. Like, I got thrown away. Like, I got taken out. Like, but I kept going.
Yeah.
Like, I got a farm. I got a farm now that feeds 148 people.
Wow.
In my community, and like, I've done 317 boxes of food.
Yeah, man.
And these people have names, and I will never share them because it's private.
Yeah.
The United States Department of Agricultural. The United States Department of Agriculture came out last week, and they built me a 3,000 square foot greenhouse.
Wow. Man.
Because they know, like they know, like, I'm feeding people.
Yeah.
And pissed off parent Dwayne says, turn your pain into purpose.
Yeah, brother.
And I just keep doing the right thing. And like, I'm sorry for the emotions, but like,
no, man, no apology.
Y'all don't quit on yourself, because I got 3 hours and 6 years. And like, brother. I love all 7 of my kids.
Yeah.
And I'm fit, willing, and able. I never committed a crime or broke a law. Yeah. And I've been through 6 judges. See, I've been through 7 reunification therapists. So wrong with
the system.
I've been through 4 GALs, and I got letters from the mayor, the governor of my state did inquiries like, I'm sorry. Like, I want to come on, Carnell. Carnell, you are like the GOAT to me. Like, you and Zach, like, Carnell, really, like,
I'm not
no BS. Dude, like, you are so level-headed. You are so level-headed. Like, I'm just saying, like, like, you inspired me. Okay, so I talked to Carnell. So the audience, I talked to Carnell a couple years ago, and he took my call, and he met with me, and he inspired me. That's real. That's real. I talked to this man a couple years ago, and I respect him.
Thank you, brother.
Sorry.
Thank you, brother. Look, this the kind of dad, Zach. This the kind of dad, and for all of the dads that can't even get the words out, we hear you, and we feel you right here. These are the people we speaking and advocating for, man, with much love and much honor and much respect. These are the kind of dads that shouldn't have to climb over hills and mountains to see their kids crawling on their knees on broken glass. For people who don't care, those people, they don't give them a hassle. What people don't understand is dads who go through this much effort, they do so because they love their kids. This is not any kind of anything or animus toward the kid's mom. It's not Chuck being the difficult party here. And for those who are part of your audience, Zach, everybody who even what Jared was talking about, the dads who don't speak out, a lot of them, they don't speak out because when they tried to share stuff with the kid's mom, it got used against them. So when you turn around with the person who they were counting on to be in their corner, those are the people. So what do? They start to withdraw and they start to keep it internalized in. And I'm saying this is where you got to get yourself a wolf pack of other guys. You need other guys and other dads. We found this out when we started helping the men get together and have men only events at our church. And do you know, we start getting together. We started going to the gun range. We started going fishing. Listen to this. We started painting other people's houses together as a group activity. And I want you to know something. A bunch of bonding started happening with these men.
Yeah.
Look, we took a bunch of guys fishing. I gave one guy all of my fish. And my pastor looked at me and he says, now, Brother Smith, I know you like fish, man, but why you gave the man all of your fish? Listen to this, Zach. I said, Pastor, sometimes you fish for the fish, and other times you fishing for the man. I gave that guy all
That's
my
why.
fish, Zach, and that guy
Yeah.
brought his whole family to church. He said, I ain't never met a bunch of guys like you guys, and I want to hang with you guys. You guys are all right. And we were all dads. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
And he
So
was an
cool.
Army vet, and he was struggling and he was suffering, and he just needed a brotherhood to connect with of like-minded guys who wanted to do things. They were above board. They weren't doing stuff to get in trouble. They weren't trying to go to jail or nothing like that. They wanted to have some people who could identify with their struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Luther King
That's why we're
said,
doing the stuff we're doing
demonstrate the
here.
suffering. Yes, sir.
Yep. That's what community get the guys together and stuff. We're putting together a group right now to do meal prepping. We're gonna do meal prep nights, and so I got a butcher who's gonna give us meat for cost to do meal prep nights. And so you can't even go to the store and buy meat. The cost I'm gonna have them for this group of dads to get together. We're gonna spend 2-3 hours together, helping each other make a bunch of food. So we're gonna save money and we're gonna hang out and do that together. And I think that's the kind of stuff, building that community, going out doing fishing trips. You know, those are the things that help build that connection. And getting your kids together and stuff on it. Have you read the book, Carnell? I'm gonna leave it on a book, and then we're gonna get out of here because I need to call my son. But I love you guys. We could do this all night. We Raising a Modern Day Knight. Have you ever read the book Raising a Modern Day Knight by Robert Lewis?
Okay, I haven't read it, but I like the title.
You sound like a guy who likes to read, and so I would imagine you'd enjoy it. But it's an amazing book, and the guy talks about how traditions on raising men into adulthood. And we used to have a world where you'd be knighted, you would be raised into a family, and there would be rituals and traditions and expectations that you would have to be a man in society. And we've lost all of that, and there is nothing being a man except for maybe now you're 21, so you can go drink, right? Or I can go and die for my country. There's nothing out there, and this is a group of men putting together these groups for themselves to make these awards and these ceremonies that we have. So he gives a few ideas.
And we celebrate masculinity.
That we're working on with the kid. Yes, we do hikes. We build family crests. And we have swords. We chop up wood and we cut down trees, and we have big bonfires. We do these things
That's
together.
Good stuff,
we go for
man.
backpacking trips.
That's
so
good
I'm
stuff.
putting that together here in Wyoming. We have a camp called Back to Camps right now. So we're going to have one in August in Wright, Wyoming, outside of Daniel, Wyoming. In case you're
to get it. This is awesome stuff, dude.
So
this is how you counter the culture.
Point, right?
This is how you counter the culture.
You can't
celebrate masculinity.
Our family's
we're
better.
Not broke.
Yeah. No, we're not. We're totally fine. In fact, only reason we might even be broke is that we're having people telling us that we're broke all the time, and then we're looking at it through this shaded sunglasses of like, am I right that what I'm doing is okay? Because what's up, Shay? It's Daniel, Wyoming, out by Pinedale. So if you want to come, man, come out here and join us. Shay is from Wyoming. He's posted on the thread right now. I'm from Wyoming.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Daniel, Wyoming's probably like 4 hours from 5. No, you're probably more than that. You're 6 hours from Buffalo probably to get there. Random back roads.
Wow.
But it's gonna be a beautiful camp. We're gonna do it in August. So Shay, hit me up and
some serious bonding.
It's gonna be real cheap too. We're doing it because we're trying to get started. We're basically gonna do it for the cost of the food. Like we just want to have people come out there and do it and come be part. So Nicholas, dude, come out and join us. Info, Nicholas, on where to come to. It's gonna be probably the first week of August. I may not have my son because of the schedule and stuff, but we're gonna put it on the first week of August, probably a Thursday through a Sunday, and it's like $100, $150, enough to cover the food and the gas to go to the. But I think building this community and helping these guys out, like I said, getting that group of guys together, right? That guy saw you guys being genuine and being a close group of friends, and having like minds and like energies. And he's like, I want to be part of this group. I'm going to come to your church. This is what I want. This is what I want. And guys want to have that connection. We don't have it. And you don't get it on
Exactly.
You don't get it on
Exactly.
Fortnite
Yeah,
or Call of
yeah.
Duty.
Like also,
You gotta be in person.
yeah.
You know, be in person, do
Yes.
things with people, and we need groups
That's
together
right.
of guys all over the place doing stuff with guys, supporting guys, and
Yes.
talking about these things, talking about family court, help each other out to go through these experiences and know that they're not alone in these feelings, and that this is a destructive, damaging, and hurtful place to be in, and you'll overcome.
Yeah. Also, too,
Right.
like, and I'm gonna let the expert
Mm-hmm.
jump in, Carnell, but I would just say, like, when I was going up against what I was going up against, I counted on the food bank to feed me. Like,
Mm.
I lost my paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
I lost my house, I lost everything I had, my children,
Wow.
and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I survived off the food bank food. I got bread,
Mm-hmm.
I got peanut butter. I would
Mm-hmm.
actually get a meat. I'm sorry, guys, I don't mean to
Yeah.
break it down to this level, but I'd get a grounded turkey, and I'd get a grounded hamburger, and I'd get some vegetables, and like that's what I survived off of.
Right.
So when I talk about masculinity, I started with myself, and I
Mm-hmm.
was eating that food for a couple of
Mm-hmm.
years, and
Mm-hmm.
I saw veterans in my community that weren't able to drive, they weren't able to move around, and I went to
Mm-hmm.
my food bank and I said, "Hey, can I pick up for so and so?" And
Mm-hmm.
they said yeah, and these are veterans that are just discarded. They're just
Mm-hmm.
completely. These are people that served our country, and so
Right.
these are masculine men. And Zach's talking about doing awesome things, getting men together and shooting
Yes.
water guns and doing
Yes.
stuff. Carnell's talking
Yes.
about paternity fraud and
Mm-hmm.
establishing yourself, whether you
Mm-hmm.
are or not the father. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and like what I'm saying is, like, for guys out there, like food is a big deal. Like, we have to do self-care, and self-care was a big struggle for me.
Yeah.
Taking a shower.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, guys. I don't mean to
Yeah.
be so vulnerable like this. Yeah,
That's
just
okay,
getting in
man.
You're
the
a sweat,
shower,
bro.
getting
I
in the
seen
shower.
you. I seen you sweat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like getting in the shower was hard, but like when we talk about Carnell is talking about masculinity, I
Yes.
said you ain't gonna tell me I can't feed my community, and I know that I'm
Mm-hmm.
a man and I'm a disgruntled father. Now
Yeah.
I'm not gonna take that title, but I
Mm-hmm.
was a disgruntled father, and I
Yeah.
took that and I
Mm-hmm.
served my entire town, my
Mm-hmm.
entire community. And just so you guys know, I went to the post office and I asked the postmaster, and I used the lobby as
Mm-hmm.
our food station. And
Mm.
we don't feed mothers or fathers, we feed everybody. And
There you
so
go.
when Zach talks about water gun fight, when
Mm-hmm.
Carnell does all the brilliant stuff he's doing with helping men continue
Mm-hmm.
their masculinity and not feel rejected, like
Mm-hmm.
we came together as a whole town. My town's only got 143 people in it. You look up on
Wow.
Wikipedia, Caper in Virginia, they
Wow.
know I'm not the disgruntled dad.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
not talking about me. I'm talking
Right.
about dads.
Right.
Turn your pain into a purpose.
Yes.
Turn your pain
Mm-hmm.
into a purpose and find
Mm-hmm.
value in yourself. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
shut the hell up because getting Carnell on, that is not easy. That guy is brilliant. And I'm sorry if I sound like I'm kissing his ass. I am. That guy is brilliant. He is a savant. And I'll shut the hell up. But
I
Zach,
mean,
I love you.
he
I'm
didn't.
sorry. I'll be
He
quiet.
didn't. You're fine. He talked for pretty much like an hour and 45 minutes straight, and he talked for like 7 hours because there's just so much, right? It was
Hey.
masterful, and you hit all the topics and stuff.
Well, look,
I have your book, and I actually
thank you for the opportunity.
yeah. Oh man, it's such a blessing, you know. And one of the things I love about doing this is getting a chance to talk to people like you that are just so inspired, and that my intention is to follow in the footsteps and just as I go through this experience and do it for years and stuff, that that I can look back and say, man, I touched this many lives. I made this much impact, you know, and that
Mm-hmm.
I know that I've been part of something bigger than me, and that people know about me, but their lives are better because of the work that I've done and
Yes.
changed the world. So I appreciate you guys. It has been
Yeah, brother.
a while,
Yes.
man. But we'll do it again. I want to do it again because I would like to spend more time talking to you about some of these things and really like diving into your book, because I think your book's
Okay.
huge. How can people get your
All right. So if you can actually find me on Amazon, but if you want a shortcut, just go to thepaternitycoach.com, thepaternitycoach.com. And one of the links on the book is a short link, take you straight to the page on Amazon. So if you go to paternitycoach.com, I think it's right at the top of the page. And the book is called
Right
Trapped
top.
by Law: Stop Paying Child Support for Paternity Fraud. And it was part of my 5-year miserable journey through every court, including the highest court in the nation. And to still win after all of that fight, to win only by using the law that my legislators allowed me to co-write. I felt like that was a bit of
Right.
poetic justice. But ultimately,
Mm-hmm.
I'm here today because of my hero. My hero is my dad.
Your dad. Your dad.
My dad
Yep.
also dealt with this miserable court experience, fighting to see my sisters
Yep.
from his marriage. And after his experience with the family court, he said, I'll never get married again. And he never got married again. So just know the ripple effect of what you guys do, Chuck, you, Zach, um, the other guys that are part of the community, all you got to do is reach one guy. Listen, some people are going to be able to reach hundreds, tens, and thousands. You reach one guy and genuinely try to help that guy, and then challenge him to help another guy. If dads get better at helping dads, then we can do something about minimizing that group of dads who won't speak up. The progress that we have made thus far has only come because of dads, and also our group of mothers and our wives who were affected, because when they saw us hurt, guess what? When dads don't get to see the kids, the paternal family doesn't get to see the kids. So grandma, grandpa, aunties, aunts. So we started inviting them to come speak out as well. So you got a whole nother community that you can tap. And you know what? And grandma is hard to beat down when you get her to bring her war group of other grandmas and the other ladies and her sewing and knitting group, because they've been social networkers for way longer than us. You can make a difference, guys. Just reach one person.
Keep going. Never give up. Hey, thanks, Chuck. Thanks, Carnell. I appreciate both you guys coming on the show today. It was fun to add Chuck on the whim, and Carnell. It was incredible and such a blessing. I thank both you guys. I hope you guys have a blessed night, and I look
Yes,
forward to
sir.
getting to spend more time with you guys. See you
All
soon.
right. Bye-bye.
Good night. All right, everybody. Carnell's out, and Chuck, see ya. I'm going to end it with just a couple last words. I thought I moved you, but I guess I didn't. During the summer, we're going to be doing this at 6:30 Mountain Standard Time, which is 5:30 Pacific, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. Right now, we're going to be on Monday nights. Next week, we are going to be having on Jesse West Sr. out of Illinois, and he's a impromptu one coming up here on Thursday. So stay tuned for Thursday night. It should be a good time. Looking to have some more guests coming on. We're looking to get some more on here. If you know somebody who you think would be a good one, we got William Fabricius on the list coming forward, and a few other things. So a lot going to happen in the near future. Sunday's Father's Day. If you're a dad, I hope you get to be with your kids and spend some time with your kids. Also, I hope that you get to give some love to your dad and spend some time celebrating him. So I wish all you guys out there and women all the best. I love you guys. Go support your fellow man. Go support your fellow family. Go give love to your kids, and love on yourself most importantly, so you can go out there and keep fighting every single day. And we got a lot of work to do. We need all of you guys. And I'm here for you. I love you all. Good night.